Moment with you here on Key Point on TV3 and also live on 3FM 99 all across the world on 3news.com. The IGP, all the witnesses, in fact, the voices captured on this particular tape have appeared before the committee. Now was his turn. Even though the committee had earlier indicated that there was going to be an in-camera hearing with the IGP, he requested that it be public, and we all witnessed what happened. Take a look.
Have a working relationship with Chief Bugri Nabu?
Honorable Chair, I do not have a working relationship with him.
If somebody alleged against you that you are the architect of the first video, you in cahoots with Chief Bugri Nabu, got these individuals taped, what will be your response to that, sir?
Honorable Chair, that is untrue.
Well, so that's the IGP there. He responded to a number of the issues and some of the accusations that his accusers had brought against him before the committee. Now, at the end of that session with the IGP, the committee chair, Samuel Atachia, also indicated that the committee has now gotten a new audio, which is eventually, as we found out from the vice chair of the committee, James Agalga, is 2 hours long. And that was given to them by Bugri Nabu. This is the fuller version of the 45 minutes that they had earlier. This gives a very strong indication of other things that will definitely get us all concerned. It's an issue that they are applying their minds to. The National Security Minister appeared before the committee as well in camera the next day together with Bugri Nabu himself and also COP Alex Mensah. Now, according to the chair of the committee, the National Security Minister did not make available a report of the National Security's own investigation into this leaked tape as well. Take a look at Atachia.
The Minister for National Security, Honorable Khan Apa. And the reason why we called him is that Superintendent Asari had confessed that he appeared before the National Investigation Bureau. So we will not do a shoddy job by not calling the minister who has superintendence over that bureau, the NIB. So he came to say, indeed and in fact, NIB called Superintendent Asari and the rest of them in relation to the same leak tape. And they've done a lot of work on it. It's an interim report, but he will not share it with us. Because if you care to know, it's a national security document, it's not declassified. Superintendent Asari, COP Mensah, and the rest of them, even Chief Bugri Nabu, they were present. The only person who couldn't show up was the IGP, although it was penciled for today. And they agree with what the Minister for National Security said. And then he was accordingly discharged. Because of the nature of what is happening, we want to do a thorough job and end quickly.
Chair has a clear idea of the nature of this, but one of my guests this morning is asking that he, Samuel Atachia, recuses himself as the chair of this committee. We'll be finding out why he holds this particular view. But in the wake of this new evidence of a 2-hour audio tape, which is the full version of the 45 minutes that we have all heard. What next for the Ghana Police Service and this committee's hearings? Stay with us. We'll have a conversation on this morning. Also, despite the number of suits seeking to injunct the Electoral Commission from starting the limited voter registration exercise, this past Tuesday, they started. And one of the two private individuals who sought to injunct the process went to court again, seeking a contempt suit, which was indeed granted, but we understand the Electoral Commission is yet to be served with that suit. Bossman Asare, Dr. Bossman Asare, is a deputy chair of the Electoral Commission. He spoke about the suits and whether they are aware as a commission of it and why they still decided to go ahead with this limited voter registration exercise at the time. Take a look.
Yes, I've been on the field doing a lot of checks regarding the readiness of our offices for the registration exercise. And although I've not engaged our lawyers, I think what we've heard in the public domain has to do with the fact that the 5 political parties want the EC to extend the registration to the electoral areas. And as a listening institution, the EC is so very, very much concerned about ensuring that all people who are qualified also register as voters. So we are beginning the exercise tomorrow. If it demands that we make some tweakings, some changes here and there, the Electoral Commission is ready to do that. We shouldn't forget that this is the commission that in 2020, in less than 40 days, we registered about 17 million people in the whole of West Africa, with the exception of Cape Verde. Cape Verde's population is like the Medina Adenta enclave. They have less than 600,000 people, and they have over 55% on their voters roll. With the exception of that country, Ghana, in West Africa, we have done over 17 million, representing almost 55%. So if there is an institution that is committed to ensuring that the citizens register those who are qualified, is the Electoral Commission. So as I speak to you now, when we hear that people are saying the EC is going to disenfranchise some people, I find it very, very strange, because our district offices are well equipped. For each district, we have registration teams, and each district is capable of an average of about 300 people per day. And we are looking at 21 days. Although we concede that some places are far away from the district offices, what we are saying is that this is not the first time we are registering at the district offices. In 2019, we did registration at the district office. Even in 2020, in 2016, we did same, even 1996. So what the EC is saying is that all those who are qualified, as long as you were a Ghanaian, you were at least 18 years old, you didn't take part in the 2020 registration exercise, for one reason or the other, you were outside the country, avail yourself in the district office of the Electoral Commission where you reside.
Well, after this process started, we've seen a number of challenges, including system breakdown, network challenges, and so on. And a number of people also raising that concern of the distance where they have to travel, which were the major concerns that were raised prior to this exercise starting. And some of the people living in island communities as well that have to travel by boat have also raised concerns about their inability to be registered. The Electoral Commission's fundamental duty is to ensure that all eligible voters are registered to exercise that right. We'll be finding out this morning what next for the lawyers of these persons who have taken on the Electoral Commission, especially because we're hearing that the contempt case is yet to be served on the EC chair, Jane Adokwai-Mensah, and her 2 deputies. We have just received a letter from the lawyers of the Electoral Commission chair and her 2 deputies. They are indicating that their attention has been brought to a news item that a process or processes have been filed for which personal service of same is required for the purposes on their clients. That is the contempt case. They have their clients' instructions to inform the lawyers of, that is, Patience Ayita, Precious Ayita, that they, the Electoral Commission chair and the 2 deputies, have waived their rights to personal service, and they are undertaking in writing to accept service of the said processes and all subsequent processes on their behalf. So that is the latest coming through on this matter. The lawyer for Precious Ayita will be connecting with us this morning, and we'll get into the legal conversation of what has been happening and what needs to be done right going forward. Sarah Josepho is back in the news, pleading with everybody, including the party president, the chief of staff, and her constituents to forgive her so she can contest again as the Dom Kabenya constituency parliamentary candidate for the NPP. Well, this is the English version of her apology. Take a look.
To proffer my sincere apology to His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Chief of Staff Honorable Frema Osei Opare, the Majority Leader and the entire leadership of Parliament, my colleague members of Parliament, the entire Majority Caucus, the leadership of our great party, the National Chairman and the General Secretary, together with all your executives, the regional executives of Greater Accra, the constituency executives of Dome Kabenya, led by Chairman Bonsu, all polling station executives. I wish to state that I'm sincerely sorry. I apologize for my actions and inactions. None of my actions were intentional, deliberate, or calculated to bring disrepute to our great party. I was going through a lot as a mother and as a woman.
Well, the constituents have a message for her and the party as well. This morning, we would have a conversation on everything surrounding this apology and what's going to be happening in the coming days. The cocoa conversation was major this week. Government is defending the new cocoa prices announced by the president over the weekend. Well, the opposition NDC believes that the cocoa farmers in this country deserve better. The pricing mechanism is under scrutiny this morning. The cocoa farmers have a voice, and they will be heard this morning. These are the issues here on Key Point that we are going to be talking about together with you, our viewers. On behalf of the team, welcome. I am Alfred Kanse. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after the quick break. My guests will be joining me in studio. We'll start the conversation here on Key Point. Also live on 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
I just took a shower above the clouds. You know why? Because this is the Emirates A380.
Oh no!
Mommy, hurry up.
We are out of cereal and there's no time to make something else.
Good morning, honey. What's the panic?
We are running late and I don't have anything for Kojo's breakfast.
Fear not. I've got just the right thing for you.
McBerry breakfast cereal biscuits. I've heard great things about it.
Biscuit for breakfast?
Yes.
McBerry breakfast cereal biscuits are made with goodness of cereals and milk for a good start to your day.
Wow, Mom, this is delicious. Oh, Mom, can we have this every day?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Why not?
You will.
So let's hurry.
Start your day with a smile and McBerry Breakfast Cereal Biscuits. Goodness for your mornings. This advert is FDA approved.
Jackpot of the week. Place bets and hit the jackpot. Log into the 1xBet account. Click on the Take Part button. Place bet and take part in the jackpot draw. Give your luck a chance. Use promo code to get a bonus on your first deposit.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be addictive.
Emirates Premium Economy. One day, all airlines will have seats like this. Fly Emirates, fly better.
As Ghana had Kwame Nkrumah, Kenya also had leaders like Jomo Kenyatta who became symbols of hope in a fight for independence.
Navigating the complexities of adulthood as a young woman can be challenging. Balancing various life issues can feel overwhelming. This week on Ghana's Most Beautiful, contestants will shed light on the unique challenges women face and work together to explore solutions. Join us for an emotional experience with the contestants this Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3. To ensure your favorite contestant advances in the competition, vote by dialing *713*13# or by downloading the TV3 reality app. GMB 23, Ghana's beauty, Africa's pride.
GMB 2023 is sponsored by Gino Tomato Mix, GTP, Techno Camon 20 series, AT, Pepsodent Charcoal and Lemon Infused Formula and Pepsodent Natural Herbal Formula, Geisha Moringa and Geisha Black Soup, Key Soap, Bell Pack Tissues, Sankofa Natural Spices, Vitamilk, Deluxy Acrylic Paint, Nescofa Blood Tonic, Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil, Enapa Foods, Freedom from Casapreco, Frutelli Calipo, Duffy's Health and Beauty, Obuasi Bitters, Nubna Womwankasa, Dragnet, Shalatem, Top Choco.
Save 500.
Global Wings Travel and Tour.
Makeup was done by House of Tara.
The battle is still on, bragging rights still very strong. Who carries the day this week for Group H? Is this going to be Anyako SHS?
We are the Hoholians, and we are not just here to cook.
Wesley Girls?
We are not just bringing beauties, we are masters in the kitchen as well.
Ola Girls?
We won't like to talk much, we like to show actions.
Or Christian Methodist?
We'll let our fingers do the talking, and your tasting will do the judging.
Yeah, can't just say, oh, because, they're saying, and then let's see, yeah. We are seeing, I won't say,
27, 26, 25, hey, 24, 23. All the action is right here on TV3, Sunday, 5 p.m. with me, Kukiti. It is Kitchen Wars Season 2.
Kitchen Wars Season 2, Sundays at 5 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it.
Sponsored by Gino Tomato Mix.
Enapa Foods. Say Enapa. Enye ono soko.
Made all these allegations in order to cover up probably the shame associated with what they got themselves involved in the first place. And I, an innocent person, focusing on my job, working in concert with my team and all commands across the country to keep the country safe and make it to be at peace with itself. I've been asked to come and answer to these allegations, which are wide, baseless. And I feel in my spirit that this is just not fair. Abuja, it is just not fair. Are we killing patriotism? That anybody can just get up, make allegations upon allegations, and people who go across the country, at times 48 hours without sleep, just keeping the country at peace, will be called to come and answer allegations that are unfounded. Probably my brother wanted to say I'm the best and he missed it. Because the records are there for everybody to see. The beauty of mankind is that everybody has an opinion and he can express it in any form or shape. But that has not changed the facts. And this is the point, Honorable Chair. Since my colleagues and I and the rest of the commands across the country had opportunity, by the grace of God, and with the honor done me by His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we committed ourselves to transforming the organization to become the best institution in the country and a reference point for Africa and beyond, in a teamwork fashion, based on Genesis 1:26. So even granted that I'm the West, then all of us collectively are the West.
Sorry, I don't want to make any comment on this issue. At the appropriate time, I will speak on it.
You are done with the scrutiny today?
I'm sorry.
You are done today?
Yeah, we've done.
You are done?
Yes.
The IGP didn't come?
Yes, he did.
The National Security Minister appeared before the committee?
Yes, I've told you that I don't want to speak on it.
Have you presented your evidence?
No.
Why? They didn't give you the opportunity?
Not started yet.
They've not even started?
No.
So who did they deal with?
I've told you I don't want to make any comment.
But you're a strong man. Why wouldn't you want to talk about it? You're a strong man. You're a strong man. We know that you are.
Yes, I will not make
you are the blunt type. So whatever you see, you say.
That I will not make comment on this issue.
So we will take it that today was the preliminary of the.
I don't know. I don't know. You can get these answers from the Parliamentary Select Committee.
But are you happy? Are you happy with the process so far?
Very, very happy.
You are happy with the process? Have you? Do you think you have been given a fair hearing on this?
Very, very fair.
So we should be expecting.
Very fair. Very fair.
Very fair. We should be expecting solid evidence from you.
Yes.
Is your evidence ready?
Everything is ready.
Everything is ready, including what? Including what?
I'm not ready to comment on anything. I only tell you everything is ready. And that's it.
I see. What is that about the proceedings that
Nothing, you see.
What is that about?
Okay. So that's COP Alex Mensah there. After the in-camera hearings, even though he had indicated that he didn't want to speak, the journalists found a very nice way of getting some words out of him. Eventually, he says that the truth will come out soon. That was his message to Ghanaians. In that interview, you just saw him with the journalists outside of Parliament. Now, the IGP has also been there, responded to a number of issues. My guest in studio this morning is a member of Parliament for the Tamale North constituency, the Honorable Alhassan Suhuyini. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. Also, Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He is the convener of the Kumi Preko Reloaded demonstration, also a leader of one of three individual born order groups. Lawyer Martin Pebo, it's good to have you. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Kansi.
Another version of your smoke.
Yes, now we're doing the smoke challenge.
Smoke challenge.
Forever smoke. Yeah,
Fantastic.
you know, we need to hype our culture, right?
Indeed.
So now it will always be a smoke.
My favorite is the...
Either with Kente or the northern smoke. So
Yeah.
last week it was a Kente
The
smoke.
Kente
Today
one.
we are back to the north.
Yeah, my favorite is the one with the Ghana flag.
It's actually Kente.
It's Kente.
It's Kente that I use for the smoke.
Good stuff. Wow. Okay. Also, Dr. John Osai Kwapong is a Democracy and Development Fellow at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, Ghana. Dr. Kwapong, it's good to have you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Also, Richard Ahiagba is Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party. He is going to be joining us soon. Professor Ransford Jampo is also Professor of Political Science at the University of Ghana, Legon, who's also will be joining us. But let me start off with you, just going forward on this IGP appearance before the 7-member ad hoc committee. This case has traveled a path up until the IGP appeared before the committee. responding to the issues that were brought against him by COP Alex Mensah, Superintendent JB, then also you had the two other persons who brought up these issues against him. 45 minutes audio. We understand there's a new audio now, which is 2 hours long, containing other issues that we are not aware of, which are also very serious, according to our sources within the committee. Listening to all of this, what should be the end game for the committee and the Ghana Police Service in the end?
Well, Alfred, first of all, let me say good morning to our viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. Good morning to my colleagues on the panel. I think that what is happening as far as this probe is concerned serves as vindication to us on the minority in Parliament who initiated this hearing. I mean, in the beginning, some people thought that it was much ado about nothing, and so there was no need for anybody to answer to anything that was heard on the leak tape. Despite how popular the tape had become, some people still thought that, and especially maybe because they believed in government assurances through the Minister of Interior and others, when they said the president had no intention to change the IGP. Others at that point thought that then we should just allow things to lie. But as a minority, we kept pushing, and the deputy minority leader, petitioned the speaker, who yielded to his, demand and set up this ad hoc committee to look into the veracity of what was contained in the tape, and also even to determine the authenticity of the tape. I mean, so their terms of reference included the two I just said and more. Clearly, from the hearing till now, the fact that we are now told that there is an additional tape containing more information should serve as vindication for us, especially because this hearing is revealing more than we knew. It's revealing more than we knew. Having said this, my problem, however, is with how the committee has also allowed, in my view, some tangential matters to be introduced into the conversation.
How do you mean?
Because they had their terms of reference, and the things they were to look for were specific. And you see, even the topic that TV3 has today, curled out of the hearing, is an indication that too many things unrelated to what was contained in the tape has been introduced into the conversation. So we have IGP having to dispute allegations of corruption against him. I mean, that was not part of the tape. Conversation on the tape had to do with how the IGP, had to be replaced, and, replaced with someone who could help the regime to break the eight. So you had us raise issues with whether or not the president had that intention, and whether or not the reasons given in the tape will be the reasons if the president has an intention of replacing an IGP. Is it going to be because the IGP is not playing ball? The IGP is not going to facilitate the breaking of the eight, and so they will need someone who will facilitate the breaking of the eight. So you didn't have issues of whether the IGP was engaged in corrupt activities, at the service. You did not have issues of promotions on the tape, but these things are becoming the major conversation points as far as this hearing is concerned. And that is where I have a problem. And I have had cause to even speak to some members on the committee to draw attention to the need for them to rein witnesses in when they appear before them, so that they don't allow them to go pair trolling, just fishing, in the waters and introducing matters that, because it is not a general inquiry into the administration of the police service. That was not the intention. I think that if we wanted to do a general inquiry into the administration of the police service would have used a different method and not, this ad hoc committee. So that is the problem that I have with the hearing so far. And again, I had issues with the interdiction and revocation of the interdiction and how all of that was managed. I think that there I fault to some extent the IGP, because and my reason for faulting him even was made stronger when he appeared before the committee and made the point that because perhaps he was involved in the issue, he kind of detached himself from what was going on.
He said he never took part in any conversation or decision.
And that for me, smacks of some level of irresponsibility. I mean, with all due respect. You see, he is still the IGP. And I would have thought that when the tape became a public, matter of discussion, he would have instituted an inquiry within the regulations of the police service. He should have instituted an inquiry into it.
He has a power
whether,
to do so.
Yes, whether the tape was discussing him or not, he was still the IGP. And so he should have instituted an inquiry. Based on that inquiry, an interdiction could have now been issued to these people. But the interdiction, in my view, came a little too late in the day.
Yes, certainly.
You get it. And it came a little late because the police service did nothing about the tape until Parliament started, hearing on it. If the police service was minded to do something about the tape, they would have instituted an investigation on their own.
The man is a powerful MPP man. That's why he says COP man.
Well, but yes, I get it. But you see,
from his blood,
that lawyer counsel, that should not make the IGP unable to perform his functions and instill discipline.
Hey.
Let him make the move and let him be stopped.
And then it becomes,
But that's the point I'm saying. The IG, in my view, should have started an in-service, that's what they call it, inquiry into the tape, and would have used that to, interdict these officers until the inquiry was done. Maybe if they even did that, Parliament wouldn't have been minded to do the inquiry, or we still would have. And then I don't think the back and forth over whether these officers should be interdicted or not would have arisen. Now,
when the interdiction was first communicated, the reaction from some members within the service, our sources within the service, was that this was an attempt by the IGP to gag, to gag
exactly.
people.
So that's what I'm saying.
That's why he also sought to make it quite clear that you know what, I did not take part in the process.
Exactly.
And so it cannot be the case that I tried to gag people from speaking.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. He came under that pressure. Because the interdiction came a little too late in the day. When the interdiction came after these officers had appeared before the committee and made inferences against the IGP. So at that point, any disciplinary measure will seem vindictive, even if that is not the intention. But I'm saying that even before Parliament began the hearing, the IGP had within his right as the leader of the service to institute an inquiry into a tape that was disturbing. And based on that inquiry, he could have interdicted the officers. And I don't think that anyone would have held him, for any bias or vindictiveness. Because, yes, it's a tape. It's become public. People are concerned. So, as a service, we want to find out the authenticity of it, whether people are trying to frame up my officers, or indeed my officers did this, and whether in doing so they broke any disciplinary, codes. I mean, that could have been his reason for, but until then, I'm asking them to step aside and let an inquiry continue. If anyone had stopped him from proceeding with that inquiry, then we would have perhaps had issue with that person and not the IG. But I'm saying that the way he detached, from this whole conversation, because his name was involved, doesn't or didn't give me the impression that he's that hard man that he's supposed to be. So I'm saying that on that score, I had a problem. But generally speaking, his appearance before the committee was aced by not just me, but many people who made time to listen to his delivery. I think that he addressed the issues very, very maturely and intelligently. I mean, and when I had time to listen to COP Alex Mensah, and I listened to IG Dampare, and then I said to myself that at least maybe for the first time, I'll concede that the appointing authority, in this case the president, did a good thing. Because he knew, I'm sure, the political affiliation of Alex Mensah. I'm sure he knew. And I'm sure he also knew the professional acumen of Dampare. And at the end of the day, he decided to go for the one who was more measured, who was more professional, who was more mature in his outlook. Because if you listen to the two of them, and I have said it, honestly, I have said it, Council, that police officers, and especially because these days, our police officers, many of them, get the opportunity to wear the uniform as a result of their relationship with politicians. Many of them. Yeah. Because of that, I'm saying that police officers who want to be professional and rise, despite how they got into the service, must make it a point to listen to the two officers. They should listen to the two officers who appeared before the committee and make a conscious decision not to be an Alex Mensah, but to be a Dampare, despite your political affiliations. Because you see, clearly, we all vote in this country. We all have parties. Even the Chief Justice has a political party that he or she votes for. Everyone votes in this country. But when you listen to the two of them, you see the one who, despite whatever affiliation he may have, is still more professional, more mature in his dealings, and able to, control his temper. I think that clearly the IGP showed class. He showed class when he appeared before, the committee compared to his accusers. I am not speaking about who was truthful or who was not. I'm not speaking about, who was right and who was wrong. Okay. I'm saying that if you look at the way the two parties conducted themselves, the accusers and the accused, I am not surprised that Dampare was made the IGP against them. And so they should check their character. And sometimes some of these things, we all come across it even at our workplaces. There are people who, through their own character, sabotage their own growth. And then they blame others who get elevated over them. Meanwhile, those people would have just been doing, their work without the intention of undermining, their colleagues. But because of their own character, they sabotage their own growth, and then they blame people for overtaking them in the institution. So I am saying that junior officers must take time to listen to the narration before the committee that was done by Alex Mensah and IG, and make a conscious effort never to be like an Alex Mensah in the service, despite how they got into the service. Whether they are MPP or NDC, they must learn to be like Dampare. And listening to the two of them, I'm sure they can be very well guided. I hope that the committee, by the time they return, I think on 2nd October, would have satisfied themselves with the additional information that they have been provided, and will guide the appearances to stay within their terms of reference and come out with a report that will be very rich, that will help us, if possible, retool some aspects of the administration, because the intention was not to look at the General Police Administration Service, but just to specifically look at maybe, if you like, how IGPs are chosen and why they are chosen. Are they chosen to help parties win elections or not? I mean, and what is with the process of choice that can, lend itself to such abuses, if there are any.
In fact, that's the end game that everyone is expecting, that beyond this probe, something more concrete, permanent changes and reforms must take place to ensure that there's some fruitful results or impact on the Ghana Police Service. Professor Ransford Jampo is joining us on Zoom. He's a professor of political science at the University of Ghana, Legon. Professor Ransford Jampo, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to your distinguished panelists.
Well, so welcome. You are saying that you want Samuel Atachia to recuse himself because he doesn't look like a credible chairman. What do you mean? Why? Why are you asking that he recuses himself?
But Alfredo Kansi, don't you see what is going on?
What are you saying?
Don't you see what is going on? Don't you hear his utterances and his comments and how he easily interjects and even almost preventing his co-chairman from also playing a role? I mean, I see Atachia not as a credible chairman. A chairman must be sober and listen. Yes, you are supposed to be steering the affairs of the committee, but you must approach that duty and role with a certain sobriety and maturity in a manner that does not point or give you out as having taken sides. It appears that rather than be a chairman, he is playing a certain surreptitious role as a lead counsel for those who are making the accusations and those who are looking for the opportunity to serve as IGPs so that they can subvert the will of the people. And I think that this is what I've seen. I've also interacted with many people who have also watched his conduct and composure. And I believe that he does a lot of disservice to Ghana by continuing to sit as chairman of this committee. And so it is not by force that he chairs this committee. I am accusing him of taking sides. And so he should recuse himself. It's as simple as that. He doesn't need to chair this committee for anything. Clearly, his composure and demeanor portray him as somebody who is taking sides with those accusing the IGP. And I believe that he should just recuse himself, or the speaker must make a reshuffle of who chairs that committee so that there will be fairness, there will be objectivity, there will be those appearing before the committee would have the confidence to be able to say what they are supposed to be saying. A chairman who has taken sides in such an important matter like this is a frustration to the quest to bring issues to the finality in a manner that will help us improve the delivery of police service to the good people of Ghana. And so I think that for now, he's not fit for purpose. He has, per his own innuendos and posturing, giving himself out as having taken sides. And I don't see him as a credible person to continue sitting. It is not by force. He should recuse himself.
Okay.
He doesn't. If he has no personal interest in this matter, he should simply just recuse himself and let another person take over. I think that is what I want to see. But on the issues that...
Professor Jampo, on that, so that before you move on, you see, this is a fact-finding committee, right? So what is the specific action or actions that you say Atachia has exhibited, which, in your view,
I am saying that
makes him unfair in taking sides?
Generally, his comments, his interjections, and the kinds of things that he's been saying
Like, for instance, what comments?
Do not, now, listen. I don't want to go into specifics. But
you should.
The point is, listen. The point is, you look at even the body language, okay, the body language of the chair. And then anytime his vice chair is trying to counterbalance his comments, the way he interjects, and his zeal in sort of through the body language, giving more space to those accusing, and the line of questioning to the IGP. In my view, if you are able to read in between the lines, like I said, I do not think that he's smarter than all of us in Ghana. I can read smartly into the innuendos and body language to point to him that he's been biased so far. I mean, ever since Dampare appeared, I mean, I compare his body language and his interjections to the way he conducted himself when those accusers also appear before the committee. And I'm able to tell that he is not neutral. He is not a neutral arbiter in this matter. And so he must recuse himself. It is not by force that he continues to sit as chair. If he has no specific interest in this matter, he has no personal interest in this matter, then he has no business continuing to sit as chair. He must simply recuse himself or be kicked out by the speaker who constituted that committee.
Well, Professor Jampo, stay with, because I'll come to your...
Let me make a brief comments on the other issues that I don't know who spoke, I didn't see. But I think that... Soini, good morning.
Good morning.
I think you made a fantastic presentation on in your just recent submission. I think that the IGP appearing before the committee was good, even though initially some of us accepted that idea with some trepidation. He showed a lot of brilliance. He showed a lot of command and control over the issues. He had grasped over the issues, and he demonstrated much emotional intelligence. And clearly, you could see if somebody is telling the truth, or if somebody is being honest and candid and sincere, you can see with the way and manner the person speaks. And so it was good. And I think that, look, there are so many important issues plaguing the country. We should not waste much precious time in discussing somebody who thinks that he was more qualified to be appointed an IGP, and he didn't get the opportunity. And so planning and scheming all he can to be able to get to that position so that he can subvert the will of the people of Ghana. We should not spend much time talking about this. This matter will be treated with ignominy, and all the necessary actions must be taken behind the scenes, and then let us put that matter to rest. We are sitting here, and there are so many economic challenges facing us. The last time I heard our finance minister speak, he was telling us that the decision to construct a new head office for the Bank of Ghana was taken long before we started experiencing losses. And so we should allow the Bank of Ghana, actually he's asking all of us to support the Bank of Ghana to construct a new headquarters. And he tells you, look at us, we do not even have a priority. And look at the Minister of Finance, who is going about begging labor, begging people that we don't have resources. Now you don't have resources, and then you've been able to save something small to undertake a project, and then you get into a situation of economic miserization, and you come to plead that we should support the construction of such ostentatious projects. This is what we should be talking about.
Okay.
This is what we should be talking about. You want to galvanize the support of the people behind the government so that the government can properly navigate and steer us out of our economic doldrums.
Okay.
And how do you elicit that support? To tell us that, and look at it, it's like we don't even think. It's like we are a group of some dumb people that anybody can just get up and tell us whatever he or she likes. That we saved the money long before our losses. And so now that we are experiencing challenges, we should go ahead. I mean, I was asking him, if you saved if you saved a piece of money to throw a party next week, today you saved enough money to be able to throw a party next week. Now, next week comes, your whole house is bent, all your properties are gone, and everything that you hold is destroyed. Will you still say that, yes, I saved for this party, and so next week has come, I'm going to continue to, throw the party? It will mean that you probably do not have a priority. This is what we should be talking about. Okay. Not somebody who is scheming to be, is scheming to overthrow or to subvert the popular will of the people. I think it's childish. Let us just throw this behind us. Let the IGP continue to work. And whatever they were scheming to do, clearly, let me tell you this, clearly the president or the appointing authority cannot act in a manner that they were looking for, because I'm reliably informed that the president thought through things properly in appointing Dampare. And as Srini said, we may have issues with President Akufo-Addo, but I tell you, this is one of the fantastic appointments that President Akufo-Addo has made. And he will go down as somebody who made a very firm decision in determining who must lead our police administration credibly. And it is something that, whether you like it or not, we must applaud. He's done very well in bringing Dampare, and it is his responsibility to ensure that he continues to protect Dampare to be able to deliver effective policing for Ghana, not for MPP, not for NDC, but for Ghana. That is what we are looking for.
Okay, Professor Ramsey Ogyampo, thank you. Well, he's the president of the University of Ghana, that's UTAT, so you know that you smuggle in some of these issues, which are equally important as well. And Martin Kpebu, yes, the other weightier matters. This particular conversation, reason why there's even a probe going on, is because of how serious it is and the content of this tape. Yeah. That this IGP cannot support an alleged plot to rig elections, and so he must be taken out for somebody to come in who can support that process. We've seen things play out in very interesting ways up until now. In fact, there's another audio which we understand Bugri Nabu made available to the committee, which is 2 hours long, that the committee is also considering as well. Now, with what happened this week and what has been happening over the period, what, in your view, should be the end game going forward? And let me acknowledge Richard Ahiagbah. He couldn't join us in the studio for some issues, but he's joining us on Zoom. Mr. Ahiagbah, good morning. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, lawyer, please.
Okay. Yeah, so let me see, I think. Looking at it, I think I got a bit distracted. So what's the main...
Sorry, because I brought in Ahiagbah, sorry. So we've seen how things have played out in this particular committee's hearings this week, at least, and the responses of the IGP. Yeah. Now, the committee is talking about reconvening October 2. What should be the end game going forward, especially for the reforms in the Ghana Police Service that we're looking at?
Okay, good. Yeah, so look, I'm very much in support of the way the conversation has snowballed, right, to cover so many things in the police service. Yeah, it's good. It's good because, listen, I must tell you frankly, and this is where I disagree with Honorable Suini. I have spoken to lots of police officers, juniors and seniors alike, and there's a lot of grumbling, a lot of factions, a lot of discontent, a lot of disquiet, okay? So at one point or another, I mean, we had to deal with it. And it's been a long time coming, right? Yeah, so, yeah, the committee may have a limited remit, but you see how the committee is not being in control, that, look, the conversation must snowball to other areas, especially the issue of promotions. Yeah. So people are very, very bitter. People are pent up with the way they can't make progress in life, you know. People build their lives around their careers. So where you've hit a certain point and you don't see progress, you know, naturally you become frustrated and the rest. So there are lots of police officers who are discontent because of not all of them attributed to IG, no. So but I'm saying that because he is in charge and then there's been this opportunity, everybody will want to try to expand the scope of the committee's work informally, and it happens. This is not the only time. So, Honorable Suina, I don't know if you've heard some of the policemen. Look, part of the problem started with Opong Buenu. When he was going, he gave amnesty. So when I say amnesty, there were some police officers who got further education privately. They didn't have any study leave, right? And usually it's been a long-standing policy in the police service and a lot of organizations. If they don't give you study leave, you go and get your further, they won't give you any promotion based on it. So upon Buenu, and from time to time it happens, they give amnesty. So he promoted people who got their degrees and diplomas privately. And what it did was that it then brought juniors at par in terms of rank with a lot of seniors. So the junior ranks from sergeant, corporals who brought their degrees, he invited them when he was leaving. Like, look, if you have a degree in your packet, bring it, then we promote you. So he promoted hundreds of them who had these private things. Then those who were chief inspectors, that's the highest under the junior rank, they couldn't get promoted. They were just given congratulations. Because to move beyond chief inspector to go to assistant superintendent, you need to sit an exam and go to the police college and be retrained or given further training before they give you the badge ASP. So it's created a lot of discontent among the chief inspectors, because their juniors have caught up with that, at least in terms of the rank, even though other conditions may vary. And there are hundreds of them. The last time I knew, there were over 400, right? Yes, there are hundreds of them. They petitioned the police council, and then, look, it's been one thing after the other. Kukwasa, it's not been dealt with. You see, even some have gone to court. Yeah. That's another badge of them. So that's one aspect of it. Then number two, listen, you see Regulation 37 of the CI 76, that says that, look, promotion is not based on only academic qualifications, but there are other considerations. Yes. So you see at the committee sitting, this DSP, former DSP, Honorable Tubu, yes, he made mention of it. I was like, hey, did I say I've demoted it? Of course, he's not using the rank anymore. So just Honorable Tubu, that's all. Yes. Which means we should just say Mr. Tubu. Yes. These titles are too many. Mr. Yes, Tubu. Yeah, he mentioned it. Now, look, it's giving them a lot of headache, where now you can have your degrees, even with formal study leave, but you'll not be promoted, because promotion is not based on only academic qualifications. So currently, the memory is that there have been about 200 special recommendations that only IG and his police council understand that they use to promote some people. There have been about 200 of such cases. So the police people, the police officers are happy to see the investigation go in that direction. That's where the corruption is rearing its head. As for IG Dampare, we all know he's done a good job. And from the way the conversation is going, naturally, he can't be removed anymore. The president is too late in the day. Yeah, because right now, I mean, the public opinion is showing that, by and large, we support him. Good. But he's not an angel. So where he has issues, they should be dealt with. They should be dealt with. We can't just say because he did a yeoman's job in Asenov, we should sweep everything under the carpet. No, the issue of these promotions and there's some corruption around it is a big problem, very big. So let's confront it. Let's take the bull by the horns. Those special recommendations, IG, those people who were promoted, let's go into it. On what basis? How did some juniors get ahead of seniors? Because the policemen are complaining. They are. So it's good that we go into it. It's good that we go into it. Then you see the politics, then you see the favoritism, then you see the chronism that's going on. And this is not the first time. In 1979, it happened. That's the same thing, the Tibiru report. Yeah, the IG, they were doing the same corruption and favoritism and nepotism in promotions, etc. And so President Liman, they had to set up a commission of inquiry. And you see how they mentioned so many things that had to be done to curb these things, okay? So, and the police have benefited from a lot of these commissions of inquiry. And listen, that problem that people get their private degrees and they cannot be promoted, it didn't start today. I think we should deal with it head on. I mentioned in the 1960s, this British man was brought in here, Ryan. So there's a Ryan report. I read it. When you even Google, there are copies there. The Ryan report, he made it clear, it's always been a policy. So from, and I think Ryan came in, as it 69 or so. 69 or so, Ryan, yeah, it's a full report. Where when he went into it, he mentioned this thing, that look, yes, it's a policy of the police service that look, you get your private degrees, they won't promote you. So it's been long-standing, it didn't start yet. It didn't start, he came and met it. And so if Ryan came in, I think 1969 or so, that's when Buzia was in office, right? If he came in there, and then that's what he came and met. It tells you that this is a long-standing problem. So let's deal with it. Let's deal with it, because you never know. The way the policemen are memorying of this set, Honorable Suina and now we're talking that perhaps there's only one more electoral cycle, and if things don't change radically, look, maybe Gabon will be happening here, Charlie. Because the way the policemen are angry, we should deal with it. Deal with it, because as we move forward, the numbers will be increasing. So if you say somebody cannot get promotion through his private degrees, then you too, by what account or by what measure can you use special recommendations to promote people? So let's sanitize it. Let it be very clear on what basis.
Permit me, but I agree with you absolutely that there are issues within the police service that need attention. And in my view, even if it came before the committee could just take note of it. And in their recommendations, perhaps recommend a full-scale inquiry into the service on, issues of factions and issues of promotion. I mean, but for now, I am saying that if the committee is not careful, they are going to be sidestepped into looking into other areas that are equally important, but outside their terms of reference. So that's just the point I'm making. The factionalisms are there. And yes, in a hearing like this, it can show its head, but don't make it the subject, because that your terms of reference doesn't include that. Again, issues of promotion will show up, but you find a way as members of the committee to redirect the conversation, and perhaps in your report you make a recommendation that based on the seriousness of these issues that appeared before you, you will suggest that either the government, the president, for example, sets up a commission of inquiry into the issues of promotions that will now be dealt with holistically. That is just the point I am making.
So the point is that, look, but you can't guarantee that President Kufuor will do it. Mampam. They're talking about Mampam. Mampam, who is running away even from asset declaration law until the IMF made it an IMF conditionality. Mampam, common asset declaration law. You go into the 90s, when he was in parliament, opposition, you see that they were supporting it. No, when we come, we'll pass a strong asset declaration law. There will be disclosures, blah, blah, blah. You see his, a few of his drafts of the asset declaration law, code of conduct for public officers. They weren't going to do disclosures until IMF made the passage of the law a conditionality, and then now we've been making noise that we want disclosures. So you hear at the bar conference on Monday, he says, so he'll give us a world-class asset declaration law. It will be in the nature of Kenya, US, and UK. But please, President Kufuor, please note that when we check the laws, the US asset declaration law, the ethics law, and the Kenyan one, they say when you are applying, you have to apply for disclosure. We don't want that one. Let's just go with the PNDC law 280. Everybody's assets be published straight so that we can get the gazette and start checking. Why are you asking citizens to go and apply? When you apply, they will even determine whether your application is legitimate or not. They are going to create another
So that's a public declaration of assets.
Just do the public declaration. Look, Buhari declared his assets, nothing happened. Rollins declared, PVO being all the appointees, they declared, nothing happened. So tie it in. So, Honorable Suhin, the point is that You can't trust MAMPAM to grant you a commission of inquiry.
Okay.
President Kufuor doesn't hear anything. So once we have this opportunity, we try and push it in.
Push all the
push it in. And I'm sure
I
eventually...
can't disagree with you.
So Parliament, do something. Expand the, this, what do you call it, the scope
of the...
Yes, expand it.
Well, but you see, Dr. Jonathan Kwapong, now the Ghana Police Service is critical in our democracy. I mean, we saw what happened in the Techiman South elections. We're still not having justice for the people who lost, in fact, the families who lost loved ones as a result of that election violence. We have a bounty on the heads of those people. We haven't found the perpetrators of that crime. The police are on duty during elections. And then we hear this. A probe has also been instituted. What should be the end game going forward, finally?
So this is where I also agree more with the Honorable and have a slight disagreement with Lawyer Martin Kpebu, which is I understand that some of these other issues would come up. You know, the discontent in the service, the issues of promotion, favoritism, unfair treatment, all of these other issues may come up in such a hearing like that, which ultimately would need some internal inquiry and then some administrative reforms to address these critical issues, because definitely it affects the police as an institution, it may affect the morale of those who work in there. And then when you think of the key role that the police as an institution plays, you know, in our democracy, you want to make sure that these discontents don't grow. My only concern is that you don't want these other issues, although important, to distract from the core issue at stake, which is really, the allegation is really serious because it goes at the heart of our democracy, which is in an alleged plot to say that, you know, we want to subvert the will of the people and ensure that a particular political party retains power. And I hope that at the end of the day, the parliamentary committee would be able to establish, you know, all of those facts, you know, how determined were they to undertake something like that, which, you know, really undermines the fundamental right of Ghanaians. And then if there are disciplinary actions to be taken, you ensure that you take them. Because you don't want to go into an election already in an atmosphere of, you know, concerns issues, trust issues, all of that, to also have this sort of cloud hanging over, you know, whether you can trust the police service, you know, to play an impartial and fair arbiter role in ensuring that, you know, they maintain the peace, they maintain the order to make sure that we have a successful election. So for me, ultimately, I want the substance of the issue to be really dealt with, and then give the assurance to the Ghanaian people that nothing untoward would happen in 2024 with the with the indulgence of the police as an institution. Because I think this is you can't overlook how serious this thing is.
And Mr. can you hear me? Dr. Josiah Kwapong, I'll come to you. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
I think the ultimate concern of the Ghanaian people here is that this is the institution, the security agency charged with the responsibility of ensuring internal security, plus also their role on election day. And this leaked audio tape is hinged, yes, I can hear and see you, is hinged on this alleged plot to subvert the will of the people on election day. Listening to the committee and their work, for you as a party, what should be the end game, the result, so that the confidence and the trust in the Ghana Police Service going into this election would not be in doubt? Hello, Mr. Angba, can you hear me? Unfortunately, we lost him.
Alfred, I want to make a brief comment or remark about my friend Martin Kpebu's submission.
You can go ahead. And then answer the question. Did you hear my question?
Alfred.
I can hear you. Unfortunately, we lost. We lost Richard Ahiagba. Professor Ransford Jampo? No, yes. Unmute. Yes.
Okay.
So, I can hear you.
Alfred. Okay, good. My friend Martin Kpebu, today I'm not in the studio. Why? Otherwise, I would have bantered you a little.
Why?
On your position that there's been discontent and how come juniors are promoted over seniors and all that. I mean, police discontentment or discontent within the police service has been there since independence. And there is no credible public institution under the sun in even advanced jurisdiction that do not experience discontentment among its members. And so do we say that because of discontentment, we should jettison or subvert or torpedo a leader of an organization? I don't think so. And then also in responding to the bit about how come juniors are promoted above seniors, please, promotion is not contingent only on seniority. Otherwise, you, Martin Kpebu, when did you start practicing your law? You are way ahead of people who I believe even taught you. You've promoted yourself, or you've been promoted way ahead of so many people who even taught you. And it applies to so many of us. And so, promoting juniors over seniors, seniority is not the only license for promotion. It's about your hard work, your willingness to excel. And if you look at the history of the IGP himself, where he started up to where he's gotten to, it shows. So promotion is more importantly about hard work. If you're a senior and you are incompetent, and you have a junior and he's competent and the person is promoted, so what?
Okay.
So please,
okay.
I also agree with the view that the commission has the committee has a specific terms of reference. We cannot send them a fishing. Let them not go everywhere. Let them focus on their mandate or their terms of reference, and other issues can be handled going forward by other committees.
All right, Professor Jampo, thank you on this. Richard Ahiagba, can you hear me now? Hello? Richard Ahiagba is joining us on the telephone now. We had a little hitch on Zoom. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, the specific question about the work of this committee in the end, so that the confidence and the trust for the Ghana Police Service in discharging their work before and even during elections would not be in doubt, especially because of the reason why this committee was established in the first place, to look into the details of this leaked audio.
Well, Alfred, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers and listeners on radio, and to my co-panelists. I think that it's an interesting work that the committee is doing, to the extent that they have engaged the issues. I think the last time there was some concerns about the IGP appearing to speak. Some of us, our concerns were confirmed. I think the discomfort of some of the things he was saying, seeing the technical or the national security impact of some of the comments that he has to make, and to the extent the committee was trying to restrain him to speak a bit in general terms. So I am concerned, though, but the importance for me of this committee is to establish for me one thing, which is to say that all these happenings has no association with the New Patriotic Party. has no association with the government, any orchestration, any effort to want to remove the IGP. That was the initial premise that was being portrayed as though that there's a grand agenda by the party and by government to remove him following the outcomes from the Asen North election. So for me, that has been achieved to the extent that there is no linkage whatsoever. It's been achieved for me. Now, the outstanding issues of validating whether the tape was authentic, also that has been established because Bukri Nabu, it is testimony confirmed to the committee that yes, he is the one on the tape, and some other persons who have come to speak have confirmed their voices, with some exception to say that the tape was is not original. And so, to the extent that we have these two things, especially the first bit, to say that there is no government agenda, there's no party agenda. Alfred, what this tape or this inquiry presents is to give us insight into what is happening in the police, the infighting, the internal politics within the police service, focused at people wanting to be to become IGPs. That is what is left, and that is really what I think this inquiry is likely to bring to the fore. And once that conversation is established, how then do we ensure that the police service is depoliticized, internal politics I'm talking about, in ways that do not spill out or spill over and affect the public conduct of their mandate. And I think that that should be the focus of all of us, that what reform ideas can we glean from what is happening in relation to the between the IGP and the other COP ranks. How does that impact the peace within the service and give them the presence of mind to be able to execute their mandate? And I think that really is a crucial thing. But as to whether this has any impact in terms of the integrity or the outcome of the 2024 election, I don't think it has any bearing on that, because there hasn't been the establishment of anything to say that government one way or the other, or party one way or the other is involved. Everything we have seen so far goes to confirm to us that there is a certain jostling in the police service, particularly around the commissioners to want to become IGP. That race to become IGP has led to them undermining each other, creating and saying things, most of which they have put on public TV for all of us to see, is what is the problem. So now how do we follow through with this to try to craft some reform, focus on promotion, craft some reform, focus on discipline, craft some reform, ensuring that as a police officer, professionalism and how to disassociate from the politics of the day and focus on the calling of the service. I think that really is where the conversation ought to be. The matters to do with perhaps that, if we establish those, I think it would be the value that we can all take from this inquiry.
Okay.
And particularly, Alfred, just before I end for you, Soini is in the studio. I missed his submission earlier. I don't know if he said anything in this regard. But I think that a committee should focus particularly on trying to establish the issues that are coming up in relation to the internal jostling, and not veer off too far away into other matters, so as that we lose the focus of this particular inquiry. And I believe that if we do that, the reforms that will follow will make the police united and a bit stronger and focused on its primary mandate.
Well, we know the role that the police plays in elections. In fact, that's one aspect of this leaked audio tape. The debate that COP Alex Mensah and the others who went to Bukri Nabu to have him go and lobby for them was that this IGP cannot help the party break the 8. Your party break the 8. So that cannot be discounted. But you say that you as a party, you support George Akuffo Dampare to be IGP?
Well, certainly, I mean, the party doesn't appoint IGPs. And that the conversation and the lobbying request by a certain COP to become IGP, it is individual ambition is seeking to advance. That is not corporate MPP agenda or MPP interest. So he's seeking his personal interest. And Alfred, if I want anything from TV3, and because you are my friend, I come to you and say, try and get it for me, so I can make TV3 make more money or become even more popular. It is first of all my interest to obtain something, and in obtaining that, what I give you as a value to undertake that lobbying for me is what I offer you. But the primary interest is what I want from TV3, for which reason I've come to you to advance a certain lobby. Your value is not the focus. It is my interest that is the focus. So if a certain COP is interested in becoming IGP and by making his case says that, oh, if I do that, I'll help so and so, knowing the proclivities of Bugui Napo, I think that that cannot be subject matter for primary consideration. So for me, I think that it is first of all the interest of these individuals in the police who are interested in advancing themselves, and I say all manner of things to get people to help them obtain that. That has nothing whatsoever to do with government or the party. And so therefore, the point is that that cannot be a basis to say that our police cannot protect, or IGP Dampare will then be in the process of time, if he remains IGP, will not be fair. All we all need to do is to ensure that the police work according to law. They handle security, aspects of that security. We've been through elections many times, so we all have to keep focused and participate in the process to ensure that what ought to be done is done, what ought not to be done is not done, and then ultimately the platform will be set for Ghanaians to go cast their vote. And in the process, we all will follow, count, and ensure that nothing untoward happens. So for me, if you ask me, this state has value for internal police reform, but has no implication directly whatsoever for our political forward march, especially the election 2024, I would say.
Just a quick one. I think that in this discussion, we need to understand that the police service exists, in my view, maybe there may be more, but in my view, to serve two purposes. And that is one, to serve the welfare of the officers who are in it. I mean, if you are a police officer, you want your welfare issues to be addressed. Promotion, conditions of service, postings. It exists to deal with that. It also exists to improve, internal security in the country. So, in my view, these are the two, services that the police service is supposed to be seen to be promoting. So, when you have, for example, the discussion around the general welfare of men and women in the service being mixed with how to improve our security, you will have a disjointed conversation.
Right.
Are you getting the point? Okay. Because for me, the reason why this committee is sitting has to do with the general, improved security of the state. Because election security is key. And so but you can understand that people who want to be IG can use some of the internal welfare issues as bargaining chips. They can serve the internal, but let us not mix the conversations. I think that we must ensure that the committee does a thorough job. I had no issue at all when the IG was invited. Okay. And if I could just end on that note, because you see, in the beginning, the IGP had no reason to appear because people were sitting there somewhere conspiring and suggesting that they should have been made IG and all of that. He had no reason to appear. But when you had some of the witnesses appearing and suggesting that the audio may have been recorded by the IG to implicate them, then it became necessary for the IG to also clear his name or otherwise. But when he does, and then the discussion is more about promotions and corruption in the police service, and no longer, zeroing in on these officers who were planning what I call a coup on the IG, so that they could assure the regime of collaboration to help them break the 8, then I get a bit worried. Okay. But I still say that the general welfare issues of the police are outstanding, they are important, and we must have a platform to address.
Thank you.
Also.
Alasan Soini, appreciate it. Now, this leads us to our next conversation, because the issue of police and elections cannot be detached, because we still have a lot of happenings during the election period that's very fresh on our minds. The Electoral Commission, regardless of the number of injunctions that sought to stop it from going ahead with the limited voter registration exercise, actually started on Tuesday. Now, there are 2 private individuals who went to court seeking to injunct the process. That's Mercy Agbenoto and Precious Ayita. After the process started, the lawyers of Precious Ayita now sought to cite the EC chair and her 2 deputies for contempt. For the past 3 instances, they've tried to serve them personally, because a lawyer, in this case, the contempt suit has to be served personally on the respondents. Nick Papo-Samoa is private legal practitioner who is the counsel for Ayita Precious. As we go on, he's going to be joining us. He says they've been unsuccessful in serving Jane Adokwe-Mensah and Dr. Bosman Asari and then Mr. Tete as well. We are receiving a letter just this morning. We just received a letter from the Electoral Commission chair lawyers indicating that the EC chair and her 2 deputies have waived off their personal rights of receiving this contempt suit. So the lawyers have now been given that right to be served on behalf of the EC chair and her 2 deputies. This is how things have played out till now. Dr. John Osai Kwapong, you are CDD even before this, these 2 private individuals and then the NDC and 5 other political parties went to court. You had raised concerns about the decision by the EC to do the registration at its district offices only. What are those concerns that you put out there?
So thank you very much, Alfred. And you and I had this conversation earlier on during the week. I've always maintained that I understand the constitutional role and the constitutional prerogative of the Electoral Commission. It is guaranteed certain powers. Over the course of the Fourth Republic, one of the things that the EC as an institution regularly holds on very dearly to is this idea of independence. I think it was Dr. Farijan who once said that the Constitution is my boss, right? And so they fiercely guard that independence, which, it does make sense, right? That you want to make sure that you play the role of a fair and impartial arbiter going into this. But one of the things I've also constantly raised is that the EC as an institution is currently operating under a cloud of a low level of trust. If you look at the most recent Afrobarometer survey in 2022, which means that any of its actions or inactions, right or wrong, or well-intended, gets filtered through some of that quote-unquote overall low level of trust that generally individuals are tending to have in the institution, which means that it has to keep an eye, or at least in my opinion, I believe that they have to weigh some of their actions against the extent to which it reinforces that low level of trust being captured in Afrobarometer, or it restores some of that trust. Then on the other hand, you have the voters who have a fundamental right to vote. And I've always argued that because that right to vote is very fundamental. Now, as to whether the citizen would exercise that right or not, it still doesn't prevent the institution that has the authority and responsibility in organizing and putting in processes and procedures so that the citizen can exercise that vote. Your goal is always to remove as many impediments or burdens from the voter to ensure that they can exercise this fundamental right, which is why earlier on in the week I said to you, what would it hurt if you can have these voter registration exercises closer to the voter, right? You have the smallest unit closer to the voter, which is always the polling station, for example, right? Because again, you want to reduce the burden on the voter to be able to enjoy and exercise this right. But because there's always this tension between this idea of our independence, how we want to organize these processes, then the courts also come in. And again, if you keep looking at Afrobarometer over 9 rounds, generally we don't tend to trust institutions very well. And it's sort of, going further down. And so you also have the courts who then have to play this, arbiter role between the decisions of the EC and how the various parties in our elections view these things, whether it's a voter, whether it's a political party. And so you bring in the courts. And I've regularly said that there are some things that I sometimes hope that we don't always have to keep running to the courts, right? I keep wondering, are there some of these issues, can we resolve them using administrative processes? So can the EC, through its administrative processes, working in conjunction, for example, with the political parties, resolve some of these things without us having to always run to the courts? And then it's also, you also realize that it is also not always that the courts hear these things in a timely manner, right? For whatever reason. So you think about this injunction thing against the, what the EC is trying to do with regards to this limited voter registration exercise. They've scheduled the hearing for much later, by which time the intended action that these voters or representatives are raising issue with that would have already passed. And I say to myself, so what if an injury is caused in the process? What do you do? Because the action that I'm trying to injunct is already complete. If an injury is caused, I've already suffered it. And then what do I do? How do you retroactively, fix those things? So for me, I think when you look at, the convolution of all of these, issues, you want to go into an election with the ordinary voter having as much confidence in all of the institutions that will be playing a key role in ensuring that we can all walk away at the end of the day believing that, not just the outcome, but even the process leading to the outcome was fair to all of the parties involved.
This decision by the EC, how does it impact on the public confidence in it and for it going into election 2024?
You see, I worry that it may chip away at that confidence and trust, right? Because I don't think it's an unreasonable request that is being made where individuals, the political parties are saying, if you think of distance between the voter, and the district office, et cetera, is there something that you can, do about it? It may not mean that you have to open registration centers throughout every single polling station in a given district or a constituency. But can you make some concessions that says, okay, in addition to the district office, we may, open maybe 3, 4, 5 other centers to facilitate this process? Again, for me, because I'm increasingly worried about the level of trust in our institutions, I say that the obligation to restore trust in our institutions is on the institutions themselves. And every so often, I think they have to look at their actions and say, okay, what are the things that I can reasonably do within the confines of the law that would help restore some of that faith and trust that I want my citizens that I serve, to have in me. And some of these requests are not, for me, are not unreasonable. Maybe for logistic reasons, you may not be able to extend registration to every single polling station in the constituency like you do on an election day. But can you have maybe 5, 6 other centers? The thing, though, that I would commend the political parties is that even though they have issues with the way it is being organized, I'm also happy that they are organizing their constituencies and finding ways to get them to the district offices, to get this resolved, which at least for me says, regardless of the difficulties, we would participate in the process whilst we also challenge it, because you don't want a situation where then, there's a boycott and all of those things, because we need this level of participation, to keep this democracy going and saving this democracy.
Lawyer Martin Kpebu, to your mind, what would the EC lose if it considers the concerns raised by individuals and political parties about limiting the registration to its district offices alone? Because since the process started, here's what we've monitored: network challenges that has led to delays. In fact, in Asokore Mampong, in the Ashanti region, people had to pass the night in queues because some of them were coming from very far away locations. So instead of going back and coming the next day, they decided to rather stay in the queue, sleep, pass the night.
Can you imagine?
Finish before traveling back to where they came from.
Yeah.
What would the EC have lost?
So, Mr. Okanse, superficially, on the face of it, you'll be, somebody who is not cognizant of everything may think that the EC will lose face. But that is not it. Far from it. We can't say the EC is going to lose face, because it was always clear from day one that they had got it wrong. Till date, I just look at it, sometimes I'm like, wow, is that Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana? And we've been quiet. You see why the EC's actions that are saying they should do the registration at only the district offices of the EC smacks of voter suppression? Because I've been turning it around in my head over and over, and it just doesn't make sense to me. This is one thing that, listen, even if we didn't have money and we cried to our development partners, they will help us. So for me, this particular decision of the EC to restrict the registration to only their district offices is one that defies logic and any other, criteria that will move our democracy forward. Yes, it's one that totally throws us back. It's as if we are in a dictatorship. Yeah, that's the way the EC is behaving. Very dictatorial. When what they are saying is totally wrong. Totally wrong. Last week, you hear what we mentioned it from some of the towns. There was an example from Bole, an example around Bole, that from one town to the registration center is about 130 kilometers, right?
From Bole to, I think,
Bamboy
to Bamboy.
Very good. Bole to Bamboy, 130 kilometers. Then we got one example from Breniasi, right, to Nkwanta. 43 kilometers. There are other examples, the Precious Aita case, where that plays to the EC, so much, so much. So it defies logic. And so it tells you that if the EC eats humble pie and does the needful by increasing the numbers to all the electoral areas, that will be perfect for our democracy. That will be perfect. Anything short of this, it will always be very clear that the EC is actively engage in voter suppression. And that's what we cannot countenance. Because, look, this country doesn't belong to the EC. No, this country doesn't belong to the EC. And so Ghanaians have to get up. And sometimes I even wonder, so, one thing that is always been okay to me, look, you see, we are also partly to blame. Where citizens won't engage much, apart from talking privately, this is what you get. Sometimes we even forget who we are. The name Ghana. How many of us remember or even know the meaning of it? The name Ghana. What does it mean? Because if you look at our actions, do we look like warriors? Do we look like warriors? Yeah, that's what Ghana means, the warrior king. Do we act as warriors? The EC is bullying us and we are quiet. EC is bullying us and we are quiet because of our selfish aims. Look, if we very soon will be campaigning that let's just change the name Ghana because we don't act one bit like warriors. No, we don't. Because this is blatant constitutional aberration. Yeah, but Dr. Kwapon said, I mean, we all want to see citizens participate. We want citizens to engage. Let the citizens register. So when you restrict the registration to registration centers, what are you doing? If not voter suppression, what else is it? Especially in the context of the EC law, the CI 91, which actually even stipulates that the registration must be continuous. So what have we done since we had CI 91? Let's go to Regulation 9.
So Regulation 9, I think 3031.
So let's go. So even today, the 3031 is the annual one. We are not. I'm not interested in that. The so continuous 9. Regulation 9.
Regulation 9. It talks about the Commission shall register voters on a continuous basis.
Excellent.
2. The Commission shall, in consultation with registered political parties, determine the modalities for the continuous registration of voters. It's going to be on the screen right now. And 3, the Commission may, by notice in the Gazette, specify a period during which the registration of voters shall take place or review the original period set aside for registration. And the Commission shall include in the register of voters, goes on the names of the persons qualified and so on. And then there's another regulation that talks about the places where these registration takes place. This is Regulation 2B of CI 91.
Yes.
In designating a place as a registration center, the Commission shall take into consideration A, the suitability of the place for use as a polling station on election day and the accessibility of the place to prospective applicants for registration. And clearly, with what we are saying...
Yes. So that's it. It's a continuous. So easy. Madam Jim Mensah, answer. When was the last time you did continuous registration? When was the last time you did continuous registration? And so if you haven't done it all this one, then you have one opportunity to do it. Why won't you do it well? Why won't you do it well? Why? Is it the issue your personal property? Is it a private company you are running? This is Professor Bosman Asare. Is it a private company? Because the things they're doing just shows that they are all incompetent. Me, look, I'm not surprised. When Madam Mensah was being appointed, I said it. Those days, Joy FM, I said, look, this one is not competent. Me, I had asked. I asked around everywhere. I never heard anything positive that she was a competent person. I mean, and I knew it. So I'm not surprised that this came. And I voiced it those days when she was going to be appointed. I said, look, this woman is not competent. It's just a chronism. She's related a bit to the First Lady. You see, so that's the connection. Related to the First Lady. So this chronism, family and friends business. You remember President Kufuor? Oh, I'm not coming to do family and friends. No, knowing he was coming to increase family and friends to another level altogether and to make his family very rich, right? Through the Ken bonds and all those things. So Madam Jim Mensah's track record had always been there as an incompetent person, and she brought into the EC office. And so you remember even in 2016, in the run-up to appointing Charlotte Osei, Gabi Ochiridaku was very clear that, listen, why don't we open up the, what do you call it?
The appointment process.
The appointment process. Let people apply. Then they'll be vetted in public so that everybody will see. Then we'll check their track record so that we'll have a competent EC, an EC chairperson who will exude confidence. An EC chairperson who will exude confidence. A chairperson who has a strong track record. You remember even when the Nigerian professor came, Professor Jega, Atahiru Jega.
Yes.
The NDC, they had their own pride. They decided not to allow Charlotte Osei to meet Professor Jega, right? Yeah, we're not happy. Honorable Suini, you see how politicians, that's why I keep saying, look, these politicians, and me, I keep saying it. Catholic Church, all the churches, chief imam, people come together and give us a candidate to rival Honorable Suini's. No, because they take us for granted. Because this thing the EC is done, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
Prof, let me go to Professor Ransford Jampo and I'll come to Alan Sweeney.
No problem.
Martin, unfortunately, Martin, today I'm having to be disagreeing with you.
Yes,
why?
Go ahead.
You have your yes.
Go ahead.
I worked with Jim Mensah for 14 years.
Yes.
You cannot doubt her competence.
Right. Me too. I've asked people. I've also asked people.
Let me make my point. Please let me make my point.
Go ahead. Yes.
You are lucky I'm not in the studio. Please, I worked with Jim Mensah for 14 years. I will tell you, it was Jim Mensah. I'll boldly flaunt it. It was Jim Mensah who trained me.
Oh.
She was the one who brought together the political parties' representation in Parliament to discuss issues of national importance in an apolitical manner for 10 years. In fact, it was she and her own initiative that led to the first call for constitution review under the IEA Ghana Political Parties program that she led. I mean, it brought a lot of successes to Ghana's democracy. So, as for her competence, I cannot sit as part of a program to allow anyone to doubt it. She's a very competent person. It, however, appears that political appointments have their own way of either, so when you are given a political appointment, you must either reform the system or the system itself would reform you. And that one, I may want to believe that maybe ever since she went to to chair the commission, certain things that we were expecting would have happened are not happening in a way, a manner that we all expect. One is about this voter registration. Another is about the quest to assert the mandate of the commission vis-a-vis the complaints and comments of the people who are supposed to be affected by the exercise of the mandate of the commission. Now, this is it. Hello, am I on air?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. When I was doing my MPhil, Master of Philosophy in Political Science, I remember I went to do a study in the Mfantsipim district titled The SHRAJ, i.e. the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, and access to justice in the Mfantsipim district. One of the factors that was blocking access to justice was the location of the SHRAJ office in Saltpom, my hometown. Now, it was difficult for people in Ekumpuano, Moto, Nakwa, and other hinterlands within the Mfantsipim district to drive or to move from their hinterlands to the district capital, Saltpom, to complain about human rights abuse. So anytime their rights got abused, they resorted to Fama Nyame, and they didn't report. You went to ask them, and they told you that, look, where the commission is located is too far. And so if you ask people to be registering at the district level without taking cognizance of the fact that many of them live in rural hinterlands, many of them are not able to afford 3 square meals a day. And so they would not find the transportation to be able to move themselves from their hinterlands to wherever the district is. If you don't take cognizance of these things, then indirectly you would be engaged in an act of voter suppression. Now, this is it. There's been several studies that support the assertion that the Electoral Commission at the moment suffers from severe trust and legitimacy deficit. Several, apart from Afrobarometer, several studies support it. Now, what worries me is that it appears that the commission itself that is suffering from these challenges is either not interested in dealing with them or isn't doing much to address these challenges. Now, when these challenges are perpetuated, then they will create problems for our democracy. Their mandate becomes meaningless, their mandate becomes offensive to the people, and then it will create problems for all of us. You do not go addressing the issue of legitimacy and trust deficit by overly hyping your mandate. us against doing things that brings on board people. And it appears that the Electoral Commission from 1992 has been plagued with this challenge, and chair upon chair has not been able to do anything to address. So it's been difficult. But the point is, so the commission itself either is unwilling to address the challenge or hasn't done or is not doing much to address the challenge. The courts are not helping because they will give judgments or they will set dates for ruling in a manner that would ensure that nothing will be achieved. I mean, the ruling will not come in a timely manner. So if the Electoral Commission will not do it, if the court will not help, what do? I agree with Martin Kpebu that it appears that we are still a docile people when it comes to some of these things. If the court will not do it, certainly the president can't do it. If the EC is not listening to the political parties, and if the EC itself is not willing to address these challenges, what do we do as a people? Ghana belongs to all of us. And so we must all rise up and act. Otherwise, when there is an implosion, guess what? The heads of these institutions, the presidents, the top political party leaders, they are already guaranteed visas, and they have already they have their tickets, or they have the resources to be able to purchase tickets. They would fly out of the country and leave us, and we would suffer.
The airport will be the first place to be attacked. When the runway is not working, they will see how they will fly.
Are you round up for me? Yes.
No, but Martin Kpebu, I this one I will allow you to make that input. But the point is that it is sad that look, I know who Mrs. Jean Mensah is. With my 14 years of experience working with her at the IE, I cannot doubt her competence. Bosman Asare was my mate in Legon. He was my mate. He was my mate in Legon, and then he was my colleague in the Department of Political Science. I wouldn't say that they both are incompetent, but I would urge them to bring their competence to bear in handling their duties as EC bosses, because it appears that rather than bringing much reform, particularly in the area of flipping up the trust and creating more legitimacy for the institution, I think they have not done well. And doing so is not about going on to continuously hype or emphasize your mandate to the neglect of concrete efforts that we have to put in place to bring all on board. If all are not brought on board, then we are heading for trouble. And when there is, anytime trouble occurs, it will affect all of us, and they would not also have the opportunity to continue to occupy their seats as EC bosses.
Very important point. Professor Ramso-Gyampo, thank you. Now, Richard Ayagba, can you hear me?
That registration for
Hello?
Yes, Alfred, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, good. Now, so for you as a major stakeholder in this process, as a political party, in fact, the party in power, looking at the concerns that have come up now, I mean, it's quite evident, even before the EC started this process, individuals had raised concerns about the challenge, the difficulty they would have in accessing these registration centers at the EC's district offices. The EC has gone ahead to start the process regardless. Now these challenges are actually becoming evident and quite clear. The network challenges affecting the process as well, and some people have had to even pass the night at registration centers because of the distance they have to travel from their places of residence to the EC's district office. It is not just the NDC or the other political parties' concern, but for you as a party, shouldn't you be concerned about this as well? That this is posing a challenge to eligible voters who could be disenfranchised?
Yeah, certainly, Alfred. Thank you very much. I was a bit concerned about some of the angles that were taken by my good Professor Gyampo and Martin Kpebu, as usual, in suggesting that the EC lacks legitimacy I don't quite get that. They are legitimately appointed. They are doing their work. I mean, the issue of trust we can talk about. Martin Kpebu's suggestion of Gabon will happen in Ghana. I think these are very, inflammatory languages that we should not encourage in our public discourse. We can make the point without going that far. But the point I want to make is that the EC's rather, perceived trust issue, or maybe trust issue verified in empirical study, is as a function of political bastardization of the Electoral Commission, which includes my own political party and the NDC. And the reason is not malice. The reason is essentially to ensure that they are moderating the process that leads to the selection of leaders from this assembly all the way to the presidential level. So they are in the arena. They are at the heart of our democracy. Any election management board, after if you take the time to study across the world, in Africa, they are always caught up in public crosshairs. The discussions about them is always not as though that they are safe. The discussion always is that they have to do something right. They are not doing something right. So it is not new, this conversation, because when Madame Salvatore was there, the conversation didn't change much. Then you were having input from the New Patriotic Party calling for certain reforms and things that need to be done so that public confidence in the electoral management body of our country will be assured. Also, now the NDC in opposition to the extent they have completely abstained from IPAC. It is also designed to ensure that the EC is pushed to maintain the middle lane. So these issues would not go away from us. They would remain. And so we should not then, on the basis of that, get to the point where we are saying that the EC is so battered. And at a point, I want to agree with Professor Jampo to say that Martin Kpebu, in describing Madame Jean Mensa and her other two deputies, has gone too far and probably need to apologize for that. You cannot, in good conscience, say that these individuals who in private life have excelled, in private life accomplished in their individual capacities, to then want to, because they are managing our election body, describe them in those terms. I think that is most unfortunate. I would not say that about Martin Kpebu, and I don't think that he should be saying that about other people. But you see, Alfred, what I think we should do as a country, and I in particular reference to what is happening now. I am in the Volta region. I've been here for some days. That's the reason I couldn't join you in the studio. Yesterday, I've been to about 5 polling centers or registration centers. And in these 5 centers that I visited yesterday, I took time to have conversation with the district directors. And every one of them that I spoke to demonstrated that they are committed to ensuring that people come in and they register them hurriedly. The challenges they have explained. And I spoke to people who have come there to register. Their pain, you can see. They have challenges coming in, and then they are not able to register. They go home and having to come tomorrow and the rest of it. But you see, it has not taken away the right of people to register. People are going through the process because, look, citizenship is not a passive. It's not a passive thing. It's an active call. So citizens are taking the burden, given the challenges that is posed to them, are going through the processes to register. In one of my conversations with the regional director, Mr. Eric Japasu, we explored so many issues, talking about the network challenges, talking about availability of equipment. Can you have more? Is there a way that we can, be creative in ensuring that people can get these registrations done hurriedly and quickly? in one of the centers, finally, before the end of the day in Bando, for example, the director, the district director indicated to me what they have done. When people are coming and then they're about to shut down, I think around 5 o'clock, the online system goes down, and then they can register up to 6 till when daylight is not available because of capturing of the images. They go ahead to complete the forms for the individuals, and on the basis of that, they are able to then quickly process them the following day.
I see.
So they are
Mr.
learning.
Mr. Agba, you say now you are there in the region. You've come face to face with these challenges that were talked about even before the process started, that some people have had to travel long distances to register, even at the places that you say you are, and then the network challenges that you have experienced and all. This process is going on within a particular period. And so considering the economic situation and the fact that some people that you said you have interacted with have to travel long distances, the inconvenience, and the fact that the EC is supposed to ensure that the places where the registration is taking place is accessible to eligible voters, wouldn't you also consider the concerns raised not just by the NDC, but other political parties and private citizens about how this decision by the EC could lead to disenfranchising eligible voters, the challenges that you have also come face to face with?
Okay, so we need to disassociate a lot of things from the comments. What I was trying to establish for you is that practically there are challenges because of the distances involved. But that does not take away the fact that as a political party, as a citizen, we don't engage the process to get registered. There are two different issues. The EC is in Article 43, has the mandate to ensure that Ghanaians are registered, right? So in ensuring that registration, I think that the EC has provided the opportunity for people to go ahead with their registration. So the mandate on Article 45, the EC is executing that quite. And the only challenge we have is that, okay, well, why can we do it even closer to the people? Hello, Alfred. If you take the registration to polling station, okay, we've been in this process for quite a bit, and you know this. People still have concerns. There are still challenges even coming to register at a polling station. So those challenges will never be completely resolved. You will have challenges even if you are registering at a community a bit about 200 meters or 1 kilometer away. The point, what we must emphasize, is that the EC continuously must look at how we can make our registration smarter. You know, when Martin was speaking, he talks about CI 91, Regulation 9 specifically. This is what we must strive toward as a people. How do we operationalize that so that we don't get to a point where we have this mass registration and necessarily that is the only window people have to register? Can we gradually get to a point where when people turn 18, whatever the issues are, we can finalize it so between the EC political parties arrive at a certain workable solution to then be able to allow people on a daily basis, when they turn 18, they can just go there and get themselves registered. What would help us, and I think that the National Identification Authority is working at that spiritedly, is to ensure that all Ghanaians get the Ghana card, which is a primary document that most people who come there would have to have, to be able to go and register without any doubt that you are a Ghanaian.
Okay.
So once you are bearing, just let me conclude for you. So once you have a Ghana card, there is an incontrovertible fact that you are a Ghanaian, and then you can go and register.
Okay.
So yesterday, in most of the places that I went to, that if you look at the ratio, you look at the ratio of those who have the Ghana card and those who have are there to be guaranteed for, is disproportionate. A lot of the people who came are not bearing the Ghana card.
And that's another challenge as well,
Yes,
indeed.
So the point I am making is that
while you round up,
Yes, so there are substantial issues that we must talk about, which is a part of administrative implementation and strategy to be able to resolve them. But let's not just put the EC down and say the EC has not done well and therefore is by malice trying to disenfranchise people.
Okay.
It's working within the constraints it has, and as a political party, we have a problem with that. But we are managing it, and I think the NDC, I met the original chairman, secretary yesterday. They are also managing the process. And getting
I see.
people
Thank you. But it just had to put it on record that you also had challenges with the process, but you didn't make that quite clear, at least with the NDC and the other political parties. They spoke about it, and it appeared that you sort of were supporting the Electoral Commission every step of the way, even when some of the processes they had put in place was going to lead to disenfranchising people. But Alasan Sweeney, let me bring you on at this point. Mr. Agba, thank you. I would come to you on yes.
Yeah, Alfred, I think that now that the Electoral Commission has begun this process, it is important that when we are having these conversations, we do so without the bias that we are associated with. Because people are experiencing what many of us predicted even before the exercise began. And so I think that the Electoral Commission of Ghana has simply gone rogue. They have simply gone rogue, putting our democracy yet again under threat. And we need to call them out before it is too late. And you see, as much as I blame the Electoral Commission leadership, the commissioners, I cannot help but also blame the appointing authority. In this case, the president and his government. I, like you, could not, at the time of even the appointments, understand what went into the consideration for these people to be appointed. I mean, one, Madam Jane Mensah consistently at the IEA was always at loggerheads with the NDC. So one would have thought that any good governance, approach would have, considered her nomination, or even if she was recommended, with some pinch of salt. Not because she's not competent, but perhaps because of her history with the major political party that you are going to entrust the refereeing of a game. You should have known this. But you see, the president, in my view, and his government have simply corroded and corrupted every conceivable good governance architecture that we have in this country. They have done that. I mean, talk about the judiciary, talk about the Electoral Commission, talk about CLOSAG. I mean, for the first time, you have people in the civil service and public service holding press conferences to complain about how government is not allowing them to do their job because they bring people on contract from their private institutions to take their jobs. So they have simply, corroded and corrupted every conceivable good governance architecture that we have in this country. And that is the reason why we need to speak out. Because these things are threatening our democracy. And if you look at countries that have suffered coups, in fact, Ghana is part of it. The examples are there. Coups don't just happen in a week or a day. It is the accumulation of these frustrations that eventually leads to a coup that becomes so popular. And so we cannot wish away the intervention in our democracy in a way that we don't like by simply pretending or accommodating these, infractions. Look, what is at stake here is that the Electoral Commission has a law. Or let me say the country has a law. You have Article 42 of the Constitution that mandates the Electoral Commission, and I'm using the words mandate. It mandates the Electoral Commission to make it possible for anybody with sound mind, 18 and above, to get registered. And it is the entitlement and I'm choosing my words carefully. It is the entitlement of any Ghanaian who is of sound mind and 18 years to have a voter ID. And it is the responsibility, it's a mandate. I mean, the Electoral Commission has been mandated to make that possible. So, because that's their responsibility under Article 42. Then under Article 45E, they are told how to do it. To expand the voter registration process.
Thank you.
They themselves, the Electoral Commission, has come to Parliament with a law, a CI, that was approved by the People's Representatives, CI 91, in which, under Regulation 22B, they make it clear that to expand voter, registration in this country, they will choose places that are suitable to be used for voting. That is under 22BA.
Yes, that's what we put on the screen earlier.
That to choose a registration center, you should choose a place that can be suitable for elections.
That's it.
On election day. Yes, the suitability of the place for use as a polling station on election day.
And the accessibility.
Is a consideration. Then B says that it must be accessible to the prospective applicant to register. This is a law that the Electoral Commission itself came to Parliament to get approval to support the operations they are supposed to undertake under 45E of the 1992 Constitution. Nobody forced them to put this in place. Now, the question you ask is, at the district offices in this country, the Electoral Commission district offices, are those offices suitable as polling stations on election day? Obviously, no.
Yeah.
I don't know anywhere in this country where on election day, election takes place at the EC district office. So why go against your own law? Then B, you talk about accessibility. And here, I am tempted sometimes to say that maybe some of our problems are as a result of the number of people who are in decision making, but have little understanding of the geography of this country. So, to many people in decision making, they are more familiar with Kumasi, Accra, maybe Cape Coast, and probably Ho. They don't really know how inaccessible this country is in many parts, of the various regions. So it comes to some of them as a surprise when you tell them that some people have to travel over 100 kilometers to access their district office. And it is not just about the distance, it is even about the motorability of the roads. In some cases, it is even the crossing of water bodies. I see you want to take a break.
Yes,
I will
indeed.
Because I don't want to be interrupted. Maybe when I come, then I can wrap up.
We'll be back shortly after this quick break. This is Keep On. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
It's great to be connected on a plane, but not all the time.
Ready for something refreshing and great tasting? For your kids' enjoyment?
Angel Cola!
For your graduation enjoyment?
Angel Cola!
Beach hangout?
Angel Cola!
For all your refreshing moments?
Angel Cola!
For your parties, get-togethers, events, and celebrations, enjoy a chilled bottle of Angel Cola.
Radio Grandma, today is your day. Over to you.
Thank you. Enjoyment Cola.
Angel Cola.
The Enjoyment Cola. Enjoy all your moments and fun time with Angel Cola. This advert is FDA approved.
Vanilla
Swiss cupcakes. Simply irresistible. Try one today.
This advert is FDA approved.
Just close the doors, and you're in a world of your own. Travel is not just about the destination, it's also about how you get there. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Legends don't just speak, and when they speak, they make sure they leave a mark. And this week's episode of The Day Show is nothing short of that. You graduated with what? A project management degree?
Yeah.
Tell me why you went back to school.
I promised my mom that I would go to uni. But then before I realized, SRC president was calling.
Has the president failed?
I'm a person that does
Yeah.
not buy into the idea of build a national cathedral. It's purely misplaced priority.
Okay. What do you say about all this conversation about why Ghanaians are not up there, we're not winning a Grammy, etc.? That is not all. Beyond Samini, we also have the Arc Band. You'd love to listen to them all day long. So don't miss The Day Show this week right here on TV3, Sunday at 3 p.m. See you.
The Day Show, Sundays at 3 p.m. on TV3.
This program is sponsored by Onga.
I wish to proffer my sincere apology to His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Chief of Staff Honorable Freema Osei Opare, the Majority Leader and the entire leadership of Parliament, my colleague members of Parliament, the entire Majority Caucus, the leadership of our great party, the National Chairman and the General Secretary, together with all your executives, the regional executives of Greater Accra, the constituency executives of Dome-Kwabenya, led by Chairman Bonsu, all polling station executives. I wish to state that I'm sincerely sorry. I apologize for my actions and inactions. None of my actions were intentional, deliberate, or calculated to bring disrepute to our great party. I was going through a lot as a mother and as a woman. I want to take this opportunity to ask for your forgiveness for anything untoward that I have done to bring the name of the party into disrepute. As the saying goes, to err is human and to forgive is divine. I ask for your forgiveness. My name is Adwoa Safo, the Member of Parliament for the good people of Dome-Kwabenya. Thank you. I wish to proffer my sincere apology to His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Chief of Staff Honorable Freema Osei Opare, the Majority Leader and the entire leadership of Parliament, my colleague members of Parliament, the entire Majority Caucus, the leadership of our great party, the National Chairman and the General Secretary, together with all your executives, the regional executives of Greater Accra, the constituency executives of Dome-Kwabenya, led by Chairman Bonsu, all polling station executives. I wish to state that I'm sincerely sorry. I apologize for my actions and inactions. None of my actions were intentional, deliberate, or calculated to bring disrepute to our great party.
So that's Sarah Adwoa Safo, Member of Parliament for the Dome-Kwabenya constituency there. Well, apologizing and wants to have another bite at being the parliamentary candidate for the NPP in the Dome-Kwabenya constituency. I still have my guest with me in studio and on Zoom. Professor Ransford Jampo, Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, Richard Ahiagba, Honorable Hassan Suini, and lawyer Martin Kpebu. Hassan Suini.
Yes.
On this,
so I see that you want to move us on to the next topic of Adwoa Safo. And, well, her apology is also related to the registration exercise because clearly it is about her desire to still represent her people in the constituency. I mean, in Parliament. But you see, I was on a point. If you permit me to just land on it, then I will speak on this Adjusafo thing. You see, I was talking about the EC's own laws that they brought to Parliament and the people's representatives approved for them and how they are supposed to go by it. Now, the decision to limit the registration to their district offices beats, one's imagination why they will want to go against their own regulations. Because the district office is not a voting center. The district office is not accessible to so many people in this country. And so, why will they want to do that? And then, this is not just reduced to talking. Like some people will say, then if it is illegal, why don't you go to court? Why don't you use the law to stop them? And that is where I will want to repeat the point I made earlier, that look, all good governance architecture in this country seem to have been corrupted and corroded. Because why will we go to court? And then, first of all, you are told by the registrar that the Chief Justice says you can't get a date until she's around. In this age, 2023, because she's available, you cannot get a date for a hearing. Then you have another suit that has been filed and served the Electoral Commission. Yet they ignore it and they continue with their exercise. Only months ago, you recall, Alfred, only months ago, in May, when the NDC was going to conduct its internal, flag bearership race, the same Electoral Commission, on the basis of a suit that was filed by one of the aspirants, Dr. Kobna Dufo, announced to the whole world that they were unable to conduct elections for the NDC. They were unable to supervise the elections because one of the aspirants had filed a suit, an injunction. The same injunction or similar injunction that has been filed against them, as far as this exercise is concerned, it's not stopping them from doing that. I mean, from going ahead. So you cannot, for the life of, and when you speak, and I'll end on this note, when you say that, like you said, Council, that this whole exercise is deliberately structured to voter suppress, people say, to whose benefit? Look, any political scientist or researcher will tell you that when you make voter registration as difficult as they have done, you limit the opportunity for people with less incomes. People who are deprived, you limit their opportunity to get to register. Because you see, I will not pay to transport myself 100 kilometers. I can't even pay. Meanwhile, the researchers again will tell you that the less privileged, the underprivileged, have a higher tendency of voting against a party in government. So, are you getting it? Those who are less privileged, those with low incomes, have a higher tendency to vote against a party in government. So if the structure is skewed to limit those people or to disadvantage them, then you know that that is gerrymandering. That is rigging already in operation before the election starts. And so I think that we need to speak out before, our democracy loses the luster, the clout that it has. Let's speak out. The Electoral Commission must be called out, and that intransigence position that they have taken over the years must change so that we can protect our democracy. As for Adjusafo, what can one say? I mean,
at the point you, the minority, defended her.
Not
when the NPP majority was asking
we
that
defended
her seat be declared vacant.
I personally can speak to the position that I took. I think that's the position that many of us in the minority took. A principle was defended that she needed to be given the hearing, and all avenues had to be explored to make it possible for her to be heard before a decision was taken on her. Because the laws, are clear that if you absent yourself for 14 days, you are given a hearing. You can have a good reason why you absent yourself. In the absence of a good reason, that is when your seat is declared vacant. And personally, I recall that when the PP wanted her to be present for some critical votes, they managed to get her to be present for those critical votes. And so it was not acceptable, in my view, for a whole committee of parliament to suggest that they could not, you know, make it possible for her to appear before them. And because, according to them, she refused to appear before them, they wanted to conclude in a certain way. And I thought that was not fair. I thought that they should have explored other, you know, options, you know, to give her the opportunity to give the reasons why she was absent. Now, she has thought it wise to apologize to her party, to her constituents, and to, you know, Ghanaians in general. It is up to people.
No, some people are saying no, Ghanaians are not included, so they don't want us to even comment.
Well,
that's what somebody is telling me here.
Yes, so and to some extent I agree, because in my view, I remember saying once that I didn't know what she had on the president. Because, I mean, for the president to have left a whole ministry, even for her, for that long, I mean, I just couldn't understand. It was
understand when President Kufuor
leaves. A naked video of the president.
Yeah, that's why you see close.
I just couldn't understand.
Closer.
You know, but well, she has rendered the apologies up to the good people of Ghana and her constituents to decide what they want to do with that apology. Personally, I am indifferent.
Okay, well, Dr. John Osei-Kwapong, I mean, this goes to the heart of representation, is it not? Which is the most fundamental duty of a member of parliament, that representational role. And beyond the apology, there are concerns that, yes, I mean, the party, you understand, have accepted the apology, but does it end there? Especially because of the absence and how that deprived her constituents and indeed the Ghanaian people of her services as a member of parliament.
Right, and that was, you know, one of the most worrying parts of that whole period. Yes, you know, she, from reports, from what she herself said, she had personal challenges, and nobody would take that, you know, from a family member, a mother, etc., who is facing some personal challenges, therefore making it difficult to, you know, execute her official duties. But at the same time, when you think of, you know, how long both her ministry as well as her ability to represent, you know, the people of Dominica just sort of went vacant, right, is not a practice that augurs well for good governance. Yes, she has come out to apologize to, you know, to the party, to her constituents, and I mean, ultimately, I guess it's up to the, you know, the people of Dominica to decide, you know, what they do with that apology. I'm sure she wants to go for re-election in 2024, and if there's, you know, so the primary would determine, and then the end result of the, you know, final parliamentary election would decide whether the constituencies, you know, the people in the constituency decide or choose to forgive her or not. But you also don't want to make this, you know, a habit, right? You don't want to endorse the practice of, you know, a member of parliament going AWOL, you know, for that long and depriving his or her people of representation in parliament.
Well, in fact, when this matter came up before Parliament, when she was sent to the Privileges Committee, and then the outcome of the committee's decision was put before Parliament, the Speaker had to take a decision on that matter. There are many people who are surprised about the NDC's position on this, but then Alassane Suhuyini has explained why they took that principled position to defend her, because of precedents and other issues, and some other persons as well who had absented themselves within that same period and how they were treated. But does that take away the essence, the impact of her absence, and whether this apology is going to make any difference at all?
Well, so Mr. Okansi, as I've already stated, some people are saying to the extent that the apology did not or was not calculated to extend to the general population, we shouldn't even be giving this apology any currency. We shouldn't be giving it more traction because they expected her to apologize to the whole nation as well. But the other side too is that in practice, you see that her absence aided the minority, isn't it? And actual fact, is that not the case at the time? As she was absent, it reduced the ability of the president to, I mean, the majority to be able to carry on their business, right? Isn't also even at the time of the e-levy and all that, right? So in a way, it actually helped our democracy. Yes, so that's what...
absence helped the democracy.
Yeah, because, you know, the e-levy, the minority was able to challenge it for about 5 months altogether, delay it for about 5 months. And Adwoa Safo's absence was one of the contributing factors. So when history is being written, even though she was absent, but the absence gave us a lot more help. Because don't forget, this is a country where about 3 million of our people live on less than 24 Ghana cedis a day. That's the World Bank standard, that poverty. People who live on less than $1.90. And if I convert generously, could I put it at 24 this in Ghana cedis. So with the coming of the e-levy, it was going to even make the situation worse. Because if you were sending, you see now, when you send even 100 Ghana, you are deducted, right, for the e-levy. Right, so when it was coming, you know, the way the government was feeling gung-ho about it and everything, Adwoa Safo's absence helped. So to that extent, it's just like the way for Christians, you say you don't like Judas, right? But if Judas hadn't played his role, if he hadn't betrayed Jesus, how are you going to be saved? You say, so that's the same way you should look at Adwoa Safo. Adwoa Safo is like Judas, okay? Judas Iscariot. So let's look at it that way. So, but
she wasn't only absent as a member of parliament, but as a minister as well.
Yeah, and that one, yes. So I have a different argument for it. The president was supposed to change it, but I mean the president wasn't doing it. That's why I buy into Honorable Suini's argument that why does she have a naked video of president? It's a question. That's why. That's Adwoa Safo have Mampam. That's Adwoa Safo have a naked video of Mampam. Why was Mampam refusing to change her? You know, it caused a lot of consternation, a lot. It's as if she was the best talent we had in Ghana, and so if she wasn't there, then it was nobody else could do the job. You know, it's all part of President Kufuor's this intransigence, Mampam, the
so
Mampam
they've had
effect.
others also make the argument that the president didn't sack her because that was more like her own bait or her position, so that she can also use that as a way of also, as it were, claiming some level of influence and getting her to come in to help government business in parliament. Because if he had sacked her, then ultimately she's out of parliament. Then the president would actually lose that support to push through the policies.
So he was doing for parochial interest, right?
That's where I agree with you to some extent, that this government doesn't know the difference between good governance and good politics. I mean, they may get the politics right, and they usually do, but it's mostly to the disadvantage of improving good governance in this country, because it is only for partisan reasons that the president would have been careful to dismiss her. Otherwise, if you were running a corporate institution and your worker or manager behaved that way, you will not think twice about dismissing the person. But if you are too concerned about how politically correct that decision is, then good governance will suffer.
Okay, so I should go on.
So
that decision, and also let's not forget, in a way, you remember President Kufuor had too many ministers, and till date, still too many, right? Yes, so if it were even that in her absence, she wouldn't be paid, and all that, then would have said, oh, it's good he didn't take any decision on it. But to the extent that she was still being paid and the rest, so he was, like Honorable Suidu, he was doing politics. But he forgets. You see, one thing we should always remember is that this is September, right? The year is almost out. Next year, President Kufuor will answer for all of this. Yeah, when he's leaving office, he will answer for all of this, even to the extent that will be asking that he be prosecuted. Yeah, for the corruption and all those things. Yeah. So he should think about it. As for the corruption, he will face it. prosecution, or will be leading the charges. You see how the
you'll be
immunity,
leading the charge.
Yeah, the immunity the Constitution grants is not for crime, not for your personal aggrandizement. It says when you do the work in good faith. So the immunity is for the things that he's done to move Ghana forward. But all the corruption will ask that he be prosecuted.
So you also, when you push that argument about about the politics of it, you would also have the minority's position on this matter also being brought to question, is it not? That yes, it was to your interest that she still stays out, because then the NPP had less numbers.
No, you see, it was in that regard, Alfred. It was in the interest of good governance, and that's where I agree with counsel. Because one of the ingredients of good governance is for the executive to be held accountable. And so if you had a position that was popular with the people, in this case, people were against the e-levy. All the research that people conducted, including the University of Ghana conducted, showed that the e-levy was unpopular. And you had the opposition amplifying the voices of the people. And her absence made it possible for the people's views to hold sway. That's what good governance is all about.
Also violated the rules of Parliament.
How?
Even not granting audience to the Privileges Committee of Parliament when they called on her.
So the absence,
many
the
times.
violation was the reason why the member of Parliament for North Tongue, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, raised, which necessitated the speaker to put up a committee, because that violation is a conditional one. It is not automatic that when you absent yourself from Parliament for 14 days, you are dismissed. Your seat is declared vacant. It says that unless you have a good reason for absenting yourself, so the processes that will determine the reason was kicked in motion. But she was not able to appear before that, committee. And I personally was of the view that the committee didn't do enough to get her to appear.
She just refused.
Because you see, the committee has the powers of, I think, a high court. A committee of Parliament has the powers of a high court. They could have even subpoenaed her. They didn't do all of that. You see? And so I was of the view that they did not exhaust all the means they had to get her to appear. And so to conclude on the matter was not going to be fair.
It would be different. For example, let me bring it. It would be different to say maybe she was unable to, or she refused to. There are two different things. Because within that period, she was seen on TikTok and all of that, So then questions were asked about whether she was really unable to, or she just refused not to appear or attend to the Privilege Committee's or invitation on this. But Professor Jampo, let me bring you in on this matter, please.
Well, thank you. I think given the level of my disappointment with this particular President of the Republic, I would always subject him to critical scrutiny. I will do so with every sweat that I have in me. But Martin, with the greatest of respect to you, I don't think it's right for us to continue to refer to President Akufo-Addo as Mampam. I don't, given the office that he occupies. Let's subject him under critical scrutiny, but then without the name. If we can take that out.
Let Professor Jampo.
No, but what is he saying?
Professor Jampo.
I want to hear what.
Yes. Professor Jampo. You are off. Yeah.
Can I go on?
Yes, Professor Jampo.
Yes, so I'm saying that let us criticize the president, but then let us respect the office that he occupies, because anybody could occupy that office. And in our critique, I think the name calling about Mampam and all, I mean, they are not, it's not a professional way of looking, an intellectual way of describing things. And so let us take away the name calling. Now, let us come to Adwoa Safo. She said she was going through a lot as a mother, and for me, having been raised by a single parent, if a mother tells you that I was going through a lot, it touches me. Even though I had a father, I was raised singly by my mother. And it was difficult. So it touches me. But the question I keep asking myself, going through the apology that she's rendered, is what at all was she going through that her own party didn't know? What at all was she going through that her constituents didn't know? And what at all was she going through that the nation wasn't aware of? What she is saying to us now, vis-a-vis what we saw her do on TikTok, go contrary to each other. So you're going through a lot and you are seen on TikTok having fun. It becomes difficult because for once, I thought that she had given up the hope or the idea of continuing as a member of parliament and then also as a minister. She had given these responsibilities up. And so it makes me think that maybe this apology is an afterthought. But, well, be that as it may, we want to look at her, put the apology aside. If the party says they've accepted, I mean, it is up to them. But you see, the idea of representation is not about begging. You don't beg to serve. Representation is tripod. First of all, you must act in a manner responsive to constituent interest. That's number one. Number two, you must project your party's interest. Number three, you must project the national interest. And so, any decision as to whether she would continue to serve as a member of parliament or not, shouldn't be contingent on her apology, whether it is from a contrite heart or it is a mere afterthought. I mean, this shouldn't be determining whether she will continue as an MP. If she must continue as an MP, the constituents must determine how best she has been able to serve their interests over the last 4 years. It's the constituent who must make that decision. You drive through the constituents, you drive around that area, and you hear all manner of people, of comments from the people in their own area. I don't know whether you know her, Domi Kwabenya, well, but because of the area that I live on campus, I easily will be driving there, and you hear all manner of comments. And so it is up to the constituents to decide whether she has been able to act in a manner responsive to their interest. Number two, the party itself must also decide whether she has been able to serve their interest well. Number three, the whole nation. We must also be in a position to judge whether she's been a good MP or not. If she's able to pass these three tests, then maybe her apology will be the icing on the cake. But if she's not been able to do that, then I'm sorry. Don't forget that she's going to have Gabo around, Michael Kwe Jr., who lost narrowly to her in the last parliamentary primaries of the MPP in that constituency. And given all that have happened, these would play up in their primaries. And so it is. I am sad for her, but at the same time, I feel that she didn't treat her own people well.
Right.
If you are going through a lot as a mother, then your public posturing and appearance and the kinds of things you do in the public must be in sync with what you are going through, so that we will all be able to sympathize with you. But at a point in time, it appeared that she was actually making mockery of Ghana's democracy. She was also making mockery of the fiduciary trust that her own people had confided in her. And so if you've done all these things and today you are coming to say all these things, well, the people should examine their own life. They should share their system. They should look into their own life, and then the physical quality of their life, and then, oh, please stop the right. Let me finish.
Yes. Round up for me. For example, round up for me. Round up. Yes, round up, please.
Okay. So the point is that let the people themselves examine how well they think she has served their interest, and let the decision to forgive or to the decision to allow her to go back to parliament be contingent on the quality of representation she's giving to the people.
Okay, thank you, Professor Jampo. Richard Ahiagba is still with us on the telephone. Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Ahiagba, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Alfred. Can you hear me?
Yes. So now you indicated you've accepted Adjoa Safo's apology as a political party, correct? So after the apology accepted, then what next?
Thank you, Alfred. I don't blame you, but I blame myself for not being in the studio because I think I suffer a lot of disadvantage when I try to make a point.
Yeah,
and just get cut off.
Well,
but it's okay. It's okay. Next time I'll make sure that I'm in the studio.
Okay, indeed.
Alfred, you know, let me make this humble plea, and I want to thank Professor Jampo because I've noted to come back to that point. My senior brother, Martin Kpebu, I think that TV3...
So that point, I think, has been cleared up and addressed.
No.
But,
I'm the
yes.
Director of Communication for the New Patriotic Party, the party of the President. I think I reserve the right to make a comment on this matter. I think that Media General will have to exercise some responsibility to its viewers and listeners in taking a decision on Martin Kpebu's continuous presence on this platform and his propensity to insult the president at will and this government, characterize it in ways that is completely unacceptable and unexemplary. I think that we need to have a decision from Media General on this matter, and I will leave it there. Look, I think the MP for Dominicana has apologized, and I think that she made an appropriate point to say that all of us can err and all of us deserves forgiveness. The political ramifications of what she has done in her constituency, whether or not her constituents will consider having her represent them, that's a matter of democracy, a matter of their choice to exercise their franchise. But as a party, I am not aware of anything that constrains her currently. I'm speaking to our disciplinary procedures as allowed by our Constitution. I don't know about any disciplinary measures that have been instituted against her at the constituency level. And so therefore, there isn't anything in the wisdom of the party in Dominicana that has come up to the point where they have thought that maybe she needed to be disciplined and therefore cited. So on account of that, I think that she's a human being. And I think what is profound in what she said, that she was going through things as a mother. And I think that those things as a man, there's very little we know about that. I have had instances where people having given birth had some serious complications, things that will be confounding to you. You see it and you think it's a simple thing, it's something that should be resolved. But there's a lot that happens in the woman's world that as men we might not be able to know. So I think that she's come around full circle, and her apology as human as we all are. I think that we need to exercise our humanity in supporting her. But as to whether that gives any political advantage, I think that it is for a constituents to determine.
Okay, it's for the constituents to decide whether this will give any political advantage or not. Thank you, Mr. Ahiagba. Then also to put it on record that for us here at Media General, we exercise that editorial right to decide on who comes on this platform or otherwise. And it is that editorial right that we consistently exercise in bringing lawyer Martin Kpebu on this platform. And for you as a political party, you cannot dictate or decide who comes on this platform and what the person says. And if there is any indication of he being reined in consistently on this platform, I have done that. That is just to put it on record and to respond to the issues that you put out earlier. Thank you. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
feel adrift as you transition into a new stage of your life? The future seems like a blank space until you discover the passion within. The canvas of the future is yours to paint. Welcome to a world of opportunities. Heritage Christian College, offering world-class university education, training compassionate entrepreneurial leaders.
Jackpot of the week. Place bets and hit the jackpot. Log into the OneXBet account. Click on the Take Part button. Place bet and take part in the jackpot draw. Give your luck a chance. Use promo code to get a bonus on your first deposit.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be addictive.
Are you ready to win solid cash every day with Cash Out? Be a proud winner of lots of cash simply by watching or listening to any of Media General stations. That's right, you are being rewarded for your loyalty. Tune in to all Media General brands. TV3, 3FM 92.7, Onia TV, Onia FM 95.1, all in Accra, Akuma FM 87.9 in Kumasi, and Connect FM 97.1 in Takrady. To enter the Cash Out raffle on your favorite Media General station, just dial *439#. Follow the prompt and pick your favorite platform to enter. Voila! You are now eligible to become one of the 10 lucky winners of a cool cash prize. Remember, this is every day, all day on your favorite Media General station. Cash out and win big! This is in partnership with Radio Entertainment Limited. This promo is regulated by the National Lottery Authority on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply.
So within the week, the cocoa farmers, and welcome back to Key Point here on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. The new spot, in fact, their price for a bag of cocoa was announced by the president over the weekend. And then also that generated some reaction, especially from even the cocoa farmers themselves. And beyond that, the NDC indicating that the cocoa farmers deserve better. Now, let me start off with you, Alan Sansoni, because the question that the Cocoa Board CEO poses to you is that you know that the spot price is not what is used to determine the price to pay cocoa farmers. And that is the forward pricing. And so even the cocoa that is being produced this year has already been sold using the forward pricing mechanism. So what exactly is your issue?
And what was the price that it was sold at?
At what that is now, the announcement by the president, 1,308 Ghana cedis per bag, and 12,800 Ghana cedis per ton. That's been increased now to 20,943 Ghana cedis per ton. This new price represents the 70.5% of gross FOB. And using the forward market, the pricing mechanism, there is either two ways, and just for the benefit of our viewers who understand this, it's more like just hedging the price so that in an event where even if the price of cocoa goes up or down within a particular crop season, the farmer is protected. So if there's a reduction or a loss, the buyer absorbs that. And if there's an increase in the price, the buyer benefits. And then the seller, who is in this case the cocoa farmer, either benefits or loses, depending on the circumstance that plays out. So we are seeing the spot price of cocoa, according to Bloomberg, on the world market today is $3,647 per ton. So now cocoa farmers also asking questions as to whether this forward pricing mechanism is going to continuously serve their interest or otherwise.
You know, first of all, in this discussion, I want us to get one thing clear, and that is the welfare of the cocoa farmer. That is what this discussion is all about, because we all know the importance of cocoa as far as the management of our economy is concerned. And if we do not put the welfare of the farmer ahead of whatever that we do, then it will mean that we are not conscious of how important, this produce is to us as a country. They say that you put your money where your mouth is. And so the more we get from cocoa will depend on how well we treat the cocoa farmer. And that is why this discussion, that point must not be lost on us in this discussion. So how has the cocoa farmer been faring? And I commend the minority NDC, especially its spokesperson on agriculture, Honorable Eric Opoku, and the party's communication wing, Same Jemfi, for taking this discussion to the cocoa farmer and making the points that they can relate with about their welfare. It's about a government that over the years has not increased, what do they call it? They have not increased how much they pay the cocoa farmer over the years. And I think for like 2 or 3 years, they haven't done that. Only for them to do that now, and with trumpets, gone to town to highlight how unprecedented this is. This is what has necessitated the conversation. Then the issue now is, let's compare the welfare then and now. Given how much you are selling cocoa, a bag of cocoa today, compared to how much a bag of cocoa was sold in the past, and the welfare issues that were addressed in the past compared to now. I mean, today, how many bundles of zinc? Because you don't have time, I'm going to rush the conversation. Because I see you are already wrapping it up, and the time is almost up. Today, how many bundles of zinc can what is offered the cocoa farmer buy compared to them?
That's good. Perfect.
How many bags of cement can what is offered them buy compared to what was offered them in the past? That is how you determine whether their welfare has improved
or otherwise.
And clearly, they could get more in the past than they bundles of zinc, more cement now than they can get. No matter how high the prices.
2 minutes. So 2 minutes to Richard Ahiagba as well.
It's a difficult conversation to have when the time
it's not ending anytime soon. I agree with you on that. So it's about the issue now is more now getting to the time value of money as to whether the welfare then, with the money that the cocoa farmers were paid during the NDC, and now because of all the situations with the economy and how much it is taken away from the farmers, including their cost of production. Jagba.
Very much. I think trying to bailed out Abella Soyini so nicely because the conversation about this cocoa price, producer price increase, the NDC just got it all wrong. And in fact, what they were trying to do was just to muddy the waters, to create a false impression, to create doubt in the minds of cocoa producers that this historic increase in producer price is not good enough for them, that there is something better to go fish for. When they, the NDC, could not meet the standard, when they were paid more for cocoa, 1 metric ton, they were paid $2,950. They couldn't pay them what is being paid at $2,600. So the NDC is shameless. Honorable Kopoku mounted platform in the Labia and a half regions to say that, oh, they have cheated you, they should have paid you more. At the same time, we're saying that cocoa farmers themselves are expressing appreciation because they know what has happened to them. They feel it, they know it. The NBC couldn't do it, somebody is there, they appreciate it. And so that's on record. Number 2, Alfred, isn't it shameless? Isn't it shameful for Honorable Eric Opoku to mount a platform in a house to say that, oh, doing some calculations to say it's actually supposed to be 2,000 something, and they are taking 500 or 1,500 Ghana cedis away from metric ton because they could have paid you more. A year before that, the prior season, cocoa farmers were paid 12,800 cedis per metric ton. 800 cedis per bag. Where was Honorable Ensoko? Why didn't he go and mount a platform there and say, oh, they should have paid you 1,308 Ghana cedis and 20,946? You see the hypocrisy? It's 12,800 more than 20,943. So the NDC completely is just playing with the heads of people. And I find it very objectionable, right? If they are consistent in making this case, they should have been making that argument a long time ago, including when they were in government.
Okay.
To go around and say they themselves are not paying cocoa farmers well.
All right.
This has happened in a time that in spite of all the difficulty, the global difficulty, government has chosen to say that the income, the returns from cocoa, a bigger portion should go to the farmers.
Okay.
And they, the NCC, cannot make this decision. And the NCC has made it because we are thinking about the farmers, because we prioritize cocoa farmers, and for the point that you need to go, and we need to make continuously, is that the farmers themselves appreciate this 50-year high increase that we have not seen.
Okay, thank you.
Between the two political parties,
Richard Ayangba, thank you very much. Is the Director of Communications of the MPP. Also, Professor Ransford Jampo, thank you for joining us. Professor of Political Science, University of Ghana, Legon. Martin Kpevo is private legal practitioner. And Dr. John Osai Kwapong, Democracy and Development Fellow at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana. The Honorable Al-Hassan Suini, Member of Parliament for the Tamale North constituency. And he started with a special greetings to his constituents. I want to say thank you so much for joining us here. So, on behalf of the rest of the team, thank you very much. I am Alfred Akanse. Have a great weekend. Thank you. So, thank you. Thank you very much.